Chapter 2479. This divine consciousness. Duan Lingtian could not help but frown when the expressions of Nangong Yi and Duan Lingtian changed. He discovered this divine consciousness was not ordinary. This divine consciousness was extraordinary. It was at least the divine consciousness of a seven-tribulation bodiless celestial. It's the divine consciousness of an eight-tribulation bodiless celestial. At this moment, K.O. was able to confirm the cultivation base of the owner of the divine sense that swept over them. Brother Tian, do you want me to follow his divine consciousness and give him a warning? Kerr asked softly as she looked at Duan Lingtan. There's no need for that. Duan Lingtan narrowed his eyes when he discovered the owner of the divine consciousness was an eight-tribulation bodiless celestial. He said indifferently, I'd like to see where this eight-tribulation bodiless celestial came from. How dare he target a member of the Seven Absolute sect? A hint of killing intent flashed in Duan Lingtian's eyes when he finished speaking. Although Duan Lingtian and Kerr's conversation was not loud, everyone present on the scene clearly heard their conversation. Even Nangong and Duan Lingtian were shocked when they heard it. They were shocked that Kerr, who was standing next to Duan Lingtian, was able to identify the owner of the divine consciousness with just a few words. However, Duan Lingtian was still as calm as ever even after learning that his opponent was an eight-tribulation bodiless celestial. They were even more shocked. Based on Duan Lingtian's reaction, it seemed like he was not afraid of the eight-tribulation bodiless celestial at all. Could it be that Duan Lingtian has obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial? The same thought appeared in the minds of Nangong and Duan Lingtian's minds at the same time. They were certain Duan Lingtian had obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial. They subconsciously felt that this was the only way Duan Lingtian could remain so strong when facing an eight-tribulation bodiless celestial. After coming to the Beyond Heaven secret zone and meeting the people from the four large mundane realms, they had also heard about the patriarch of the Seven Absolutes sect, Feng Qingyang. From this, he learned. The reason Patriarch Feng Qingyang from the Seven Absolutes sect was able to kill 8 tribulation bodiless celestials and fight 9 tribulation bodiless celestials was because he had obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial when the Beyond Heaven secret zone opened. What's going on? After seeing the Nangong brothers' expressions change for a while, the anxiety on their faces gradually faded. Duan Lingtian asked again. It's like this. At this moment, Nangong Yi, who thought Duan Lingtian must have obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial, sighed in relief before he recounted everything that had happened. A few days ago, Nangong and Duan Lingtian had seen 2 bodiless celestials leading a group of people to fight for the celestial supreme treasures that had appeared in the Earth-rank treasure vault. They could not help but stand aside and watch. In the end, they were surprised by what happened. In the end, more than half of the people from the 2 groups of people died. Only a few powerhouses at the 8th form of the Saint's celestial stage survived. Moreover, those powerhouses at the 8th form of the Saint's celestial stage were severely injured and could not unleash their full strength. At this moment, Nangong and Duan Lingtian had made up their minds and snatched the celestial supreme treasures that had appeared in the Earth-rank treasure vault. It was the pair of boots that they were wearing. Both of you are quite lucky. Not only are you the Oriole behind, but you even managed to snatch 2 celestial supreme treasures. During our journey here, we had also come across Earth-rank treasure vaults, but each of them only had 1 celestial supreme treasure. Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh when he heard Nangong Yi's words. Although we were lucky, we got into trouble because of this. Nangong Yi smiled bitterly. At that time, the remaining powerhouses at the 8th form of the Saint's celestial stage were severely injured. However, it was impossible for the 2 of us to kill them in such a short time. At that time, they had already used their communication jade tokens, so there was a chance that someone would come to their aid. Moreover, one of them said that an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial from their sect was nearby and would come to our aid soon. At that time, the 2 of us were so frightened that we only had one thought in mind, and that was to return to the Saint Province realm as soon as possible. You know what's going to happen next? Nangong Yi sighed when he reached the end of his sentence. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. Then he smiled faintly and said, "No matter what, I still have to congratulate both of you for obtaining a celestial supreme treasure each. Moreover, they're all movement celestial supreme treasures. Compared to offensive celestial supreme treasures, movement celestial supreme treasures were much more difficult to refine and were rarer." Hua Lao, the three-legged golden crow, had told Duan Lingtian about this when he was still alive. At that time, Hua Lao had told him about many movement celestial supreme treasures in the Jade Emperor Heaven. However, the only movement celestial supreme treasure that Duan Lingtian remembered was the pair of firestorm wheels that belonged to Neza, the son of the pagoda-bearing heavenly king, Li Jing. "If you want to congratulate us, let's get through this first. That 8 tribulation bodiless celestial has already detected our location with his divine consciousness." Nangong Yi said with a wry smile on his face. "Don't worry. A mere 8 tribulation bodiless celestial won't be able to snatch your celestial supreme treasures under my watch." When Duan Lingtian spoke again, he had a carefree expression on his face, and his eyes revealed strong confidence. "How dare you, brat!" As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, a thunderous voice rang from afar, causing Nangong and Li Jing's expressions to change drastically. Duan Lingtian was very confident. However, an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial was almost invincible to Nangong and Li Jing. Therefore, when they realized that the other party had rushed over, their expressions subconsciously changed. The sound of wind whistling rang in the air, accompanied by a ghostly figure. This figure's speed was so swift that only Duan Lingtian and Kaer were able to clearly catch sight of it. It was a tall and big red-clad old man. His figure was like a ball of red flame as he flew through the air. It seemed as though he could burn everything in his path. The old man's aura was extremely powerful. He could be considered as one of the strongest 8 tribulation bodiless celestials. This old man's aura is comparable to the strongest 8 tribulation bodiless celestial in Muro realm whom I killed earlier. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could tell the old man's aura was not weak at all. The red-clad old man's cultivation base was only slightly weaker than the strongest 8 tribulation bodiless celestial in Muro realm whom he had killed earlier. It was as though a scorching gust of wind had blown past. The red-robed old man had arrived in front of Duan Lingtian and the others at an extremely fast speed. He hovered in the air as his red robe fluttered in the wind. He looked as though he was being burned by a ball of fire, but his body was not damaged at all. "Boy, I'm curious. Where did you, an eminent celestial, get the courage to say that I, an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial, am not strong enough to snatch the celestial supreme treasure from them under your nose?" The red-robed old man had a square face. When he glared at Duan Lingtian, it was as though his body was shrouded in flames. He emitted waves of terrifying coldness that caused the temperature in the surroundings to drop by a few degrees. "What? Are you looking down on eminent celestials?" Duan Lingtian asked indifferently. His expression did not change when he saw the red-clad old man's overbearing attitude. As an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial, the red-clad old man was not stupid. When he saw Duan Lingtian was still so calm, he could not help but wonder, this boy, he's still so calm even at this moment? What's his trump card? The red-clad old man was puzzled. Could it be? Soon after, the red-clad old man's expression changed as though he had thought of something. He stared at Duan Lingtian and asked, "Could it be that you've obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial?" The red-clad old man had thought of this possibility because, 100,000 years ago, the person from the Saint Province realm who had obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial had killed an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial before he left the Beyond Heaven secret zone. For this reason, if there were any eminent celestials in the Beyond Heaven secret zone who were not afraid of an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial, it would be those who had obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial. Humph! Before Duan Lingtian could reply, Nangong Yi scoffed. "You're pretty smart to be able to guess that Duan Lingtian has obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial. Moreover, there's something else you don't know. He's the successor of Senior Feng Qingyang who obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial the last time the Beyond Heaven secret zone opened. Sush. Upon hearing Nangong Yi's words, the red-clad old man's expression changed drastically. Feng Qingyang. He was the person who obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial the last time the Beyond Heaven secret zone opened. In that case, all of you are from the Saint Province realm, right? Is this the exit that leads to the Saint Province realm from the Beyond Heaven secret zone? At this moment, the red-clad old man noticed the black hole hovering in the air. That's right. Nangong Yi raised his head proudly as though he was proud to be from the Saint Province realm. I didn't obtain the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial. However, at this critical moment, Duan Ling Tian spoke again. Upon hearing this, the smile on Nangong Yi's face froze. Even Nangong Chen's expression changed slightly. Duan Lingtan said, Duan Lingtan? He did not obtain the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial? He didn't obtain the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial? The red-clad old man's eyes lit up when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. What? Do you think I don't have the ability to stop you from obtaining the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial? Chapter 2480. Duan Lingtian's words were exactly what the red-clad old man was thinking. In his opinion, this was not the case. Since the purple-clad young man was an eminent celestial and did not possess the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial, it was impossible for the purple-clad young man to be stronger than him. However, the calmness displayed by the purple-clothed young man in front of him caused him to panic. Was the purple-clad young man trying to be mysterious, or was he really not afraid of him? He was not certain. Wait a minute. The red-clad old man's eyes widened as though he had just recalled something. He looked at Duan Lingtan warily and asked, Are you Duan Lingtan who killed a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure? The red-clad old man had heard a rumor some time ago. It was said that an eminent celestial named Duan Lingtian had killed a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure. At that time, when he heard this rumor, he was skeptical, but more than that, he didn't believe it. Earlier, one of the twins called him Duan Lingtian. The red-clad old man had thought about how Nangong Yi had mentioned Duan Lingtian earlier. For this reason, he was certain the purple-clad young man was Duan Lingtian. He was certain the rumor was true. He was certain the purple-clad young man was Duan Lingtian. If the rumor was true and the purple-clad young man was Duan Lingtian, there was no need for him to fear Duan Lingtian. After all, Duan Lingtian had killed a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure. Although he was an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial, he did not possess a celestial supreme treasure. For this reason, his strength was only comparable to a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure. Duan Lingtan killed a 7th tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure? As soon as the red-robed old man finished speaking, Nangong and his brother were stunned again. They had never heard of Duan Lingtian killing 2 7 tribulation bodiless celestials. The Beyond Heaven secret zone was huge, and the people inside were scattered all over the place. For this reason, although news of Duan Lingtian killing 2 7 tribulation bodiless celestials had reached the ears of many people in the Beyond Heaven secret zone, Nangong and Duan Lingtian did not hear about it. It was precisely because of this that they couldn't help but be stunned when they heard the red-robed old man's words. So what if I am? So what if I'm not? Hearing the red-robed old man's words, Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. He had no intention of answering the red-robed old man's question. Kill a 7th tribulation loose celestial who possessed an immortal supreme treasure? Not long ago, even an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure had been killed by him. Bush. The red-robed old man's expression darkened when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. No matter what, he was still an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial. Since when did an eminent celestial dare to speak to him in such a manner? However, he could not do anything about it. In the end, the red-robed old man did not make a move. He scoffed before he turned around and left without saying anything. He's a smart person. Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow when he saw the red-robed old man had left. After all, he had already made up his mind. If the red-robed old man dared to make a move, he would not show any mercy. Currently, Duan Lingtian's strength was comparable to an ordinary 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. He did not think an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial was a threat at all. Nangong and his brother were dumbfounded when they saw the red-robed old man leaving. Duan Lingtian did not even make a move, but he managed to scare an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial away? Was this a dream? We're not dreaming, right? Nangong Yi asked as he looked at Nangong Chen, who was standing next to him. Nangong Chen shook his head as well, indicating he did not know. The two brothers stared at each other for a long time before they regained their senses. Hey, why are you and your brother in a daze? Both of you are really lucky. Not only did you manage to survive in the Beyond Heaven secret zone for a few years, but you even managed to obtain 2 celestial supreme treasures. Nangong and his brother only regained their senses when they heard Han Xuanai's voice. However, they ignored Han Xuanai. Instead, they looked at Duan Lingtian with bewilderment in their eyes. In the end, Nangong Yi could not help but ask, Duan Lingtian, the 8 tribulation bodiless celestial said you killed a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure. Is that true? Duan Lingtian nodded with a smile on his face when he heard Nangong Yi's question. To Duan Lingtian, Nangong Yi was not only his old friend, but he was also a member of the 7 Absolute Sect. Therefore, he did not only feel friendship towards Nangong Yi, but he also felt that they were from the same sect. He would not underestimate Nangong Yi just because there was a huge gap between their strengths. It's true. After receiving confirmation from Duan Lingtian, Nangong Yi knew it was true. He was petrified. Nangong Chen, who had remained silent the entire time, was petrified as well. Nangong and his brother were petrified when they recalled the time they first met Duan Lingtian. They could not help but sigh inwardly. In recent years, after they had become members of the 7 Absolute Sect, they had finally managed to catch up to Duan Lingtian. However, they had been left in the dust by Duan Lingtian again. From the beginning until the end, the Nangong twins did not doubt Duan Lingtian's words at all. This was because they knew Duan Lingtian would not lie to them, and there was no need for him to do so. What's there to be surprised about? Han Xuanai scoffed when she saw Nangong and his brother were stunned by the fact that Duan Lingtian had killed a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure. She said, Duan Lingtian is just a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure. Not long ago, Brother Lingtian even killed an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial who possessed a celestial supreme treasure. Han Xuanai was excited when she finished speaking. It was as though she was the one who had killed the 8 tribulation bodiless celestial and not Duan Lingtian. Moreover, that 8 tribulation bodiless celestial was widely acknowledged as the strongest 8 tribulation bodiless celestial in Muro realm. So what if he was the strongest 8 tribulation bodiless celestial in a large mundane realm? He still died in the hands of Big Brother Lingtian. Han Xuanai said. What? Upon hearing Han Xuanai's words, Nangong and his brother who had just regained their senses were stunned again. After a while, they finally regained their senses. Duan Lingtian, is this true? Nangong Yi looked at Duan Lingtian again. It seemed as though he would only believe what Han Xuanai had said if Duan Lingtian confirmed it. What? Are you doubting my words? Han Xuanai was slightly displeased when she heard Nangong Yi's words. Yes, it's true. Duan Lingtian nodded. The hearts of the Nangong brothers shuddered once again. How's this possible? Didn't you say you didn't obtain the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial in the Beyond Heaven secret zone? If that's the case, how did you become so powerful? Although Nangong Yi did not doubt Duan Lingtian's strength, he could not help but feel puzzled. It's a long story. We'll talk about it in the future. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly as he said, We're about to return to the Saint Province realm. If you don't want to stay in the Beyond Heaven secret zone for too long, you can come with us. After he finished speaking, Duan Lingtian did not wait for Nangong Yi's reply. He looked at Kerr, who was standing next to him, and said with a faint smile, "Kerr, let's go." "All right." Kerr nodded obediently. Tianwu. At the same time, Duan Lingtian called out to Feng Tianwu. Immediately, the three of them flew side by side. When they flew out, they merged into the black hole in front of them and disappeared completely. It was as if they were completely swallowed by the black hole. "I advise all of you to come with us. With your strength, you're lucky to be able to survive in the Beyond Heaven secret zone, let alone obtain a celestial supreme treasure. If you don't want to die in the hands of others, it's best to leave the Beyond Heaven secret zone now." Before Han Xuanai, Mu Yi, Chen Yiru, and the others entered the black hole and returned to the Saint Province realm, she reminded Nangong and Duan Lingtian. In just a blink of an eye, only Nangong and Duan Lingtian were left near the entrance that connected the Beyond Heaven secret zone to the Saint Province realm. "Let's go as well." The two of them looked at each other. As soon as Nangong Yi finished speaking, both of them flew out and entered the black hole in the void in front of them. They completely disappeared from the Beyond Heaven secret zone. In the Saint Province realm. In a valley shrouded in fog in the northern region of the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Bush, bush, bush. The sound of wind whistling in the snowy valley rang in the air. Soon after, figures appeared out of thin air above the valley. It was as though celestial soldiers had descended from the sky. "I'm back." Duan Lingtian could not help but take a deep breath as he immersed himself in the aura of the Saint Province realm. Although the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Saint Province realm was not as rich as the Beyond Heaven secret zone, he felt at home. However, when he returned to the Beyond Heaven secret zone, he felt like he was at home. This was something that the Beyond Heaven secret zone could not give him. Si Ling stood next to Duan Lingtian. As soon as she appeared in the air above the valley, she extended her divine consciousness and discovered her daughter, Duan Si Ling, was in closed-door cultivation. She could not help but call out to her daughter, Duan Si Ling naturally. It was also because she discovered her daughter was not in closed-door cultivation. Otherwise, she would absolutely not have rashly disturbed her own daughter. No matter how much she missed her daughter, she would not disturb her daughter's cultivation. Chapter 2481. Mother. Since Duan Si Ling was not in closed-door cultivation, she could clearly sense what was happening outside. A familiar voice rang from outside and called her name. Duan Si Ling was instantly jolted awake from her cultivation. She was certain the owner of the voice was her mother, who had left a few years ago. Bang! A soft sound rang in the air as Duan Si Ling raised her hand and opened the door. Following that, her slender figure flew out and appeared in the valley in just a blink of an eye. "Father! Mother!" As soon as Duan Si Ling came out, she saw her father and mother, whom she had been missing day and night. She could not help but rush forward with tears in her eyes. It was as though the longing she had accumulated for a few years had finally erupted at this moment. Si Ling flew toward Duan Si Ling. When Duan Si Ling was halfway through her flight, hugged her tightly as though she did not want to let go. Si Ling. The calmness on Duan Lingtian's face was completely shattered when he saw the slender and elegant young girl hugging Ke. A hint of gentleness appeared in his eyes, and a warm smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. A few years had passed, and his daughter had grown up. Currently, Duan Si Ling was already 16 years old. She had inherited Duan Lingtian and Ker's features, but there was not much childishness left on her face. When would she be able to shed her childishness? At that time, she would truly be an adult. Feng Tianwu stood next to Duan Lingtian. A hint of envy flashed in her eyes when she saw Ke and Duan Si Ling hugging each other. If only it was possible. How she wished she could have a child with her elder brother Duan. Han Xuanai, Chen Yiru, and the others who came out from behind Duan Lingtian looked at the mother and daughter who were hugging each other. None of them made a sound. It was as though they were afraid of disturbing the mother and daughter. The Oracle Man and Zoroastrianism's guardian Qing Hua had also appeared outside the two wooden huts. Seeing that Duan Lingtian and the others had returned safely, they were sincerely happy. However, when they sensed the atmosphere at the scene and saw the mother and daughter hugging each other, no matter how much they wanted to say in their hearts, they were not in a hurry to speak. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. After about 10 breaths, Kerr and Duan Si Ling finally noticed the silence in the air. At the same time, they also noticed the gazes on them. The mother and daughter could not help but blush. Then, Kerr held Duan Lingtian's hand and returned to Duan Lingtian's side. Father. Duan Si Ling looked at Duan Lingtian, who had not changed at all. A joyful smile appeared on her beautiful face that still retained her childishness. She admired and respected the father in front of her. I haven't seen you for a few years, and you've grown so big. You're almost as tall as your mother now. Duan Lingtian said affectionately as he patted Duan Si Ling's head. Currently, Duan Si Ling was slender and graceful. She was only half a head taller than her mother Kerr. It would take her at most 1 or 2 years to catch up to her mother's height. Si Ling. Feng Tianwu, who was standing next to Duan Lingtian, looked at Duan Si Ling with a doting smile on her face. Do you still remember me? Auntie Tianwu. Duan Si Ling took a few steps forward and walked up to Feng Tianwu. She held Feng Tianwu's hand naturally and giggled. How could I forget you, Auntie Tianwu? You're still the same as a few years ago. You're still so young and beautiful. You haven't changed at all. Before Feng Tianwu entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone, although she did not spend much time with Duan Si Ling, she doted on Duan Si Ling a lot. Duan Si Ling had a good impression of her as well. Si Ling, you're such a sweet talker. A smile appeared on Feng Tianwu's face when she heard Duan Si Ling's words. Her eyes were filled with affection. Si Ling, what about me? What about me? Do you still remember me? At this moment, Han Xuanai also joined in the fun. After Duan Si Ling greeted Han Xuanai, she walked up to Gan Ru Yen and held Gan Ru Yan's hand tightly. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian, the Oracle Man, and Qing Hua had already gathered together. How's your trip to the Sword Saint's secret zone this time? The Oracle Man asked as he looked at Duan Lingtian expectantly. Junior Uncle Prophet? Actually, there's no such thing as the Sword Saint's secret zone. Duan Lingtian seemed to have expected the Oracle Man would ask this question. For this reason, he replied as soon as the Oracle Man finished speaking. There's no such thing as the Sword Saint's secret zone? What do you mean by that? The Oracle Man was, naturally, confused when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. The Sword Saint's secret zone we entered is not the Sword Saint's secret zone, it's the Beyond Heaven secret zone. Duan Lingtian, who had been prepared for this, told the Oracle Man everything he had seen and heard in the Beyond Heaven secret zone. He told the Oracle Man that the space behind the black hole was not the Sword Saint's secret zone but the Beyond Heaven secret zone. Naturally, Duan Lingtian did not forget to mention that Senior Feng Qingyang had obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial the last time the Beyond Heaven secret zone opened. The Beyond Heaven secret zone? It's connected to 5 mundane realms? Our Saint Province realm is only a small mundane realm while the other 5 mundane realms are large mundane realms? There are many powerhouses in the large mundane realms. 9 tribulation bodiless celestials aren't common in our Saint Province realm, but there are 9 tribulation bodiless celestials in almost every era in the large mundane realms. Moreover, there are more than 1 or 2 of them. Senior Feng Qingyang obtained the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial the last time the Beyond Heaven secret zone opened. That's why he's able to kill 8 tribulation bodiless celestials and fight 9 tribulation bodiless celestials when he's just an eminent celestial? Not only was the old prophet shocked by Duan Lingtian's words, but even Qing Hua was shocked as well. Then, Duan Lingtian continued to tell the 2 old men about the Beyond Heaven secret zone. There are so many powerhouses in the mundane realms. Even a top sect has 9 tribulation bodiless celestials. The Oracle Man and Qing Hua were shocked when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. They realized they were like frogs at the bottom of a well. Junior Uncle Prophet, what's the situation in the Upper Province now that the Devil clans have invaded the Upper Province? It had been a few years since the Devil clans invaded the Upper Province. Duan Lingtian, who had rushed back to the Saint Province realm, was eager to learn more about the situation in the Upper Province. After all, it was better to know yourself and know your enemy. About a year ago, I lost contact with the outside world. At that time, the connection between me and the Red Dust lineage's intelligence network was mysteriously cut off. The Oracle man sighed when he heard Duan Lingtian's question. Then he smiled wryly and said, "Now, I suspect the Red Dust progeny's intelligence network is either under someone's control or has been uprooted. Otherwise, it's impossible for them to not send me any information at all." Ever since Han Shuanai's master had passed away, the Oracle man had temporarily taken over the Red Dust progeny's intelligence network. Initially, the Oracle man had planned to hand over the Red Dust progeny's information network to Han Shuanai after she returned from the Sword Saint's secret zone. However, he did not expect this. A year ago, the Red Dust progeny's information network had completely disappeared. "You don't know what happened?" Duan Lingtian asked with a frown. The Oracle man shook his head. "I wanted to investigate as well. However, I discovered that since the Devil clans invaded the Upper Province, there have been a lot of Devil clans in the Northern Province. With my cultivation base, I can't even go anywhere in the Northern Province, let alone the Northern Province." A hint of helplessness could be heard in the Oracle man's voice when he spoke. He was a human who had not even broken through to the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage. It was extremely difficult for him to go anywhere in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint land where the Devil clans gathered. Moreover, he could be exposed at any time and be killed by the Devil clans. Initially, I was worried that after the Red Dust progeny's information network was destroyed, it would only take slightly more than a year for the humans and the Devil clans to come here. The Oracle man continued to say, "Now that I see all of you have returned safely, I'm relieved. Moreover, since the Beyond Heaven secret zone is behind the black hole, it doesn't matter even if it's exposed. Moreover, according to you, the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial has already been obtained by someone else. For this reason, we don't have to worry about the Devil clans entering the Beyond Heaven secret zone and obtaining the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial." The Oracle man said, "Junior Uncle Prophet, it would only take slightly more than a year for the news of you being here to be exposed?" Duan Lingtian asked with a frown. "What do you mean?" The Oracle man seemed to have guessed Duan Lingtian would ask this question. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he said, "The information network of the Red Dust progeny in the Seven Absolutes sect is very complicated. However, due to the fact that I received information from the Red Dust progeny's information network in this place, I've left some traces in the Red Dust progeny's information network. If there's someone who has control over the Red Dust progeny's information network and intends to investigate this matter, it would only take slightly more than a year for the news of me being here to be exposed." The Oracle man's words answered Duan Lingtian's question. "So that's how it is." Duan Lingtian finally understood the Oracle man's words. "It seems like I'll have to investigate the situation in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint land on my own." Chapter 2482. Since Duan Lingtian and the others had returned, there was no need for the Oracle man and the others to stay in this godforsaken place. "Let's go. Let's return to the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate." Under Duan Lingtian's lead, the group of people made their way to the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate. It was also the nameless snow-capped peak. Initially, it was a peaceful journey. However, not long after that, two male devils with dog heads and human bodies appeared. They stared at Ke, Feng Tianwu, Han Xuanai, and the others with a greedy look in their eyes. Dog devils? Duan Lingtian could tell they were from the Dog Devil clan just by looking at their features. He had stayed in the Human Devil clan in the Debussy subterranean for a while, so he knew a lot about the Devil clans. This included the Dog Devil clan. Although the Demonic Dog clan was not in the top echelon of the Demon clan, it was in the second echelon. It was a very powerful clan. Same old rules. Kill the men and leave the women alive. The two Dog Devils looked at each other and said at the same time. As soon as they finished speaking, they charged toward Duan Lingtian and the others like a gust of wind. Their targets were Duan Lingtian and the others. Humph! A scoff rang in the air as soon as the two Dog Devils made their move. Chen Yi Ru snorted as he shot out like an arrow. In just a blink of an eye, he was in front of the two dog devils. Swoosh, swoosh. The two dog devils were only at the third form of the saint's celestial stage. Their expressions changed drastically when they saw the old man glaring at them. Although they were from the devil clans and had strange appearances, their intelligence was not inferior to humans. Seeing this old man appear out of thin air in front of them, they were unable to react from the beginning to the end. They didn't even need to guess to know that this old man was the old man. The strength of the old man in front of them was far above them. Two monsters, how dare you be so presumptuous in front of my master? You're courting death. Chen Yiru said as the expressions of the two dog devils changed drastically. The moment his voice fell, his right hand, which had been accumulating power for a long time, suddenly swung out, bringing along a bright and dazzling blade light. Hum! The saber light tore through the air, leaving a tiny crack in the void. The next moment, Poochie, Poochie. After two light sounds, the two demonic dogs' bodies were cut in half at the waist. Even when they were killed, their eyes were still wide open, as if they were unable to die in peace. Boom! After killing the two dog devils, Chen Yiru waved his left hand and a vast power swept out. Like a ball of fire, it incinerated the corpses of the two dog devils. When he saw this scene, Duan Lingtian, who stood nearby, nodded in satisfaction. Chen Yiru had always been prudent. This time, after Chen Yiru killed the two dog devils, he destroyed the corpses of the two dog devils so his daughter, Duan Siling, would not be able to witness such a bloody scene. While Chen Yiru was destroying the corpses of the two dog devils, a faint aura began to spread in the air. Mirror Image Dao Talisman? Sensing this aura, Chen Yiru couldn't help but sneer. Although the aura of the Mirror Image Dao Talisman meant one of the dog devils had a powerful background, Chen Yiru did not mind. Nevertheless, he was not bothered by it. After all, the person behind the dog devil who possessed the Mirror Image Dao Talisman might not be stronger than him. So what if that person was stronger than him? His master's strength was comparable to a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. His master's wife, his mistress, had killed 2 9-tribulation bodiless celestials who possessed celestial supreme treasures in just a blink of an eye. Her strength was comparable to a golden celestial in the Devata realms. Even if the person behind this dog devil is a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial, he'll still die if he dares to come looking for trouble. Chen Yiru was very confident in his mistress's strength. The reason Chen Yiru felt Ke'er's strength was comparable to a golden celestial in the Devata realms was because he knew Ke'er's strength was comparable to a golden celestial. Duan Lingtian had told him about the cultivation base levels in the Devata realms after they had reunited in the Beyond Heaven secret zone. Duan Lingtian had mentioned golden celestials who were above heavenly celestials. A 9-tribulation bodiless celestial was comparable to a peak heavenly celestial. Once a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial passed the heavenly tribulation and ascended to the Devata realms, they would become golden celestials. Of course, Master said it's unlikely for there to be a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial among the devil clans in the land of exile. Chen Yiru had heard about this from Duan Lingtian. In his opinion, whether the devil clans had a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial or not, they were no longer a threat to them. There's a mirror image talisman? Since Chen Yiru had sensed the aura of the mirror image talisman, Duan Lingtian and the others had sensed it as well. After Han Xuanai sensed it, she rolled her eyes and giggled. I'd like to see if the person behind this demon dares to come to us. I don't think so. Nangong Yi chimed in. Based on Senior Chen Yiru's strength, the ordinary devil clans would be wary of him if they saw him through the mirror image talisman. It's impossible for them to seek revenge from Senior Chen Yiru. No matter what, Chen Yiru was a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. Ordinary devil clans would not dare to seek revenge from him. The appearance of the two dog devils was only a small interlude to Duan Lingtian and the others. Along the way, they encountered a few more groups of devils, but all of them were killed by Chen Yiru. The strongest devil clans they encountered was only at the 5th form of the Saint's Celestial stage. Let alone Chen Yiru, a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial, even Nangong and Nangong Yiru would be able to kill them easily. We're here. Soon after, Duan Lingtian and the others arrived at the nameless snowy peak where the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate was located. A year ago, I received news from the Red Dust progeny that the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate has been taken over by the Devil clans. The Oracle man said. Although he knew the Devil clans had taken over the nameless snowy peak, he did not warn Duan Lingtian to be careful. After all, he had learned from Nangong Yi that Duan Lingtian's strength was not weak at all. Duan Lingtian's current strength was comparable to a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Even without the inheritance from a great overarching golden celestial, his strength is comparable to a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial and ancestral master Feng Qingyang. After hearing this from Nangong Yi, the elder of heavenly secrets was stunned for a long time. After a while, he looked for Duan Lingtian to confirm it. Naturally, he was overjoyed when he heard Duan Lingtian's confirmation. This meant the Seven Absolutes sect would be able to shine again under the leadership of their new sect leader. They would be able to achieve the same glory as ancestral master Feng Qingyang 100,000 years ago. Since the Oracle man knew Duan Lingtian's current strength, he was not worried the Devil clans would pose a threat to Duan Lingtian. As a matter of fact, this was indeed the case. The Devil clans that occupied the nameless snowy peak where the Seven Absolutes sect used to be was only a group of boar devils. The strongest among them was only at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Chen Yi Ru alone was enough to annihilate all of them. Since then, the Seven Absolutes sect had reclaimed their lost temporary estate. Spare my life, my lord. Spare my life, my lord. A monster with a pig's head and a human's body was kneeling on the ground in a spacious hall. He kept knocking his head on the ground. Although his forehead was bleeding profusely, he did not seem to be aware of it as he continued to knock his head on the ground. He kept kowtowing as he begged for mercy. A purple-clad young man was seated at the head of the hall. Behind the purple-clothed young man, an old man stood there respectfully, following the purple-clothed young man's lead. The purple-clad young man was none other than Duan Lingtian. The monster with a pig's head and a human's body who was kowtowing and begging for mercy was a boar devil. Chen Yi Ru had intentionally spared his life when he took back the nameless snowy peak that was the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate. He had spared the boar devil's life because of Duan Lingtian's orders. The boar devil continued to kowtow and beg for mercy. Occasionally, he would raise his head and look at the purple-clad young man sitting at the head of the hall. A hint of fear could be seen in his eyes. In his opinion, the old man standing behind the purple-clad young man was akin to a devil. The old man had killed his companions with just a wave of his hand. He was the only one who had survived. Naturally, he knew the old man had spared his life on purpose. Otherwise, he would not have been able to survive. However, the old man who was akin to a devil in his eyes was so respectful to the purple-clad young man. He even addressed the purple-clad young man as master. It was not difficult for him to imagine. The purple-clad young man must be even more terrifying than the old man. "Tell me what I want to know, and I'll let you go," Duan Lingtian said indifferently as he looked at the boar devil. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the boar devil realized he was only alive because the purple-clad young man had something to ask him. "Please ask, my lord. I'll tell you everything I know." At this moment, the boar demon also stopped kowtowing and begging for mercy and answered respectfully. Ever since the devil clans invaded the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the upper province has been in chaos. What I want to know is what's the current situation in the upper province? Is the devil clans in the upper hand, or is the human clans in the upper hand? Duan Lingtian asked calmly. The boar devil was worried the purple-clad young man would ask some tricky questions. He had mentally prepared himself for it. Chapter 2483. My lord, is this what you wanted to ask? The boar devil wondered if he had misheard Duan Lingtian. Was there a need to ask about the current situation in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land? I don't want to ask again. Duan Lingtian frowned slightly when he saw the boar devil looking at him skeptically. A hint of impatience could be seen on his face. Yes, yes. The boar devil was frightened out of his wits when he heard Duan Lingtian's impatient tone. Following that, he did not dare to hide anything from Duan Ling Tian and told him about the current situation in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. The southern and northern regions of the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land have fallen into the hands of the devil clans. The devil clans didn't succeed in the western region due to the existence of the Phoenix clan. As for the eastern region, the devil clans didn't succeed due to the existence of the dragons. Currently, the central region of the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land is also the main battlefield between the devil clans from the Land of Exile and the people from the Saint Province realm. Duan Ling Tian learned about the current situation in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land after listening to the Boar Devil's explanation. Up until now, the strongest person in the devil clans is an 8 Tribulation Bodiless Celestial. The 8 Tribulation Bodiless Celestial from the Phoenix clan and the 8 Tribulation Bodiless Celestial from the devil clans are evenly matched. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian learned about the strength of the devil clans. An 8 Tribulation Bodiless Celestial. This shouldn't be the full strength of the devil clans. Duan Ling Tian was well aware of this. There might not be a 9 Tribulation Bodiless Celestial in the devil clans. However, it was impossible for there to be only one 8 Tribulation Bodiless Celestial in the devil clans. Since you're willing to cooperate, Scram, Duan Ling Tian said indifferently after he learned what he wanted to know from the Boar Devil who was kneeling on the ground. In his opinion, the Boar Devil was just a nobody. This boar demon was just an insignificant existence in the demon race. It didn't matter whether he was killed or not. Thank you, my lord. Thank you, sir. Hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, the boar demon excitedly thanked the Duan Ling Tian before leaving the hall. As soon as he exited the hall, he fled from the nameless snowy mountain. Now, it's time to go to the dragons and settle the old score with them. After the boar demon left, Duan Ling Tian abruptly stood up from his seat in the main hall, his eyes blazing with flames. That was the flame of anger. He would never forget. 2 of his 7 absolute sect successors had died at the hands of the dragon tribe. The successor of the Kratos, Guli. The successor of the 4 absolutes, the dark shadow lineage, Yu Wing. Senior brother Guli, if you're watching from the heavens, please watch carefully. I'll go to the dragons immediately to avenge you. Duan Ling Tian left the hall in a flash. He stood in the void outside the hall and looked up at the sky as he muttered to himself. Sandao. After a while, Duan Ling Tian returned to his senses and called out to Chen Yiru who had just exited the hall. Master. Chen Yiru responded respectfully. From now on, you don't have to follow me anymore, Duan Ling Tian said. Master. Chen Yiru became anxious when he heard Duan Ling Tian's words. Master, did I do something that didn't go your way? If so, please tell me. I'll definitely remember it next time. Don't misunderstand. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled faintly as he said, What I mean is, from today onward, we're no longer master and servant. If you want to leave, it's up to you. If you don't want to leave, you can stay and be a guardian of the 7 invincible sect. Naturally, it's up to you. Chen Yiru had been following him for some time now. He was very satisfied with his loyalty. For this reason, he decided to return Chen Yiru's freedom. I've misunderstood you. Only then did Chen Yiru realize that he had misunderstood his master's intentions. At the same time, he continued, Master, thank you for removing Sandao's master-servant relationship. However, Sandao is now willing to follow you, so there's no need for you to do this. All right, it's settled then. From today onward, you're free. Duan Ling Tian spoke once more with an extremely resolute tone. In that case, I'm willing to stay in the 7 invincible sect as a guardian. Chen Yiru could sense Duan Ling Tian's determination, so he did not say anything else. Instead, he expressed his willingness to stay in the 7 absolute sect and become a guardian. The 7 invincible sect welcomes you. Duan Ling Tian smiled faintly when he heard Chen Yiru's words. Then, he told the other members of the 7 invincible sect about this. Welcome, Guardian Chen. Welcome, Guardian Chen. The Oracle Man and the other members of the 7 invincible sect welcomed Chen Yiru, a 4 Tribulation Bodiless Celestial. This meant that the strength of the 7 invincible sect would rise to another level. Previously, although Chen Yiru had followed Duan Lingtian, he was still Duan Lingtian's servant and not a member of the Seven Invincible sect. If Duan Lingtian ascended to the mundane realm one day, Chen Yiru would most likely leave as well. Now that Chen Yiru had become a guardian of the Seven Invincible sect, it meant he would protect the Seven Invincible sect regardless of whether Duan Lingtian ascended or not. After all, the Seven Invincible sect was now his sect. I'm going to visit the dragons. After Duan Lingtian made up his mind to seek revenge from the dragons, he immediately went to look for Kerr and informed her of his plans. Brother Tian, I'll go with you, Kerr said. There's no need for that. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled faintly. With my current cultivation base, I'm not afraid even if the dragons have 9 tribulation bodiless celestials, let alone the fact that there might not be any 9 tribulation bodiless celestials in the dragons. Moreover, don't you have the jade token I gave you? If I need your help, I'll notify you through the jade token. You can come over as soon as you can. With your current strength, it'll only take you a few dozen breaths to travel across half of the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Duan Lingtian did not plan to bring Kerr with him to the dragons. Moreover, apart from protecting Si Ling, you'll be able to protect the others as well. With you around, I don't have to worry about their safety. Duan Lingtian said. Since Duan Lingtian had said so, naturally, Kerr did not insist on going to the dragons with Duan Lingtian. However, she still said solemnly to Duan Lingtian, Brother Tian, if you encounter any trouble, you must inform me immediately. Kerr agreed with Duan Lingtian's words. Although she knew there was nothing in the upper province that could threaten Duan Lingtian, she could not help but worry about his safety. She was worried something would happen to Duan Lingtian. One had to know that the reason why her strength had increased so quickly was all because she wanted to do something for her brother Tian. She did not want to be a vase by his side. Of course. Duan Lingtian nodded in response to Kerr's seriousness. Then he said, As for Tun Wu, help me inform her. If there are no accidents, it won't take long for me to make my way to the dragons. All right. Kerr nodded. She was as docile as a kitten in front of Duan Lingtian. After informing Kerr, Duan Lingtian left the nameless snowy peak where the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate was located. He left the northern region of the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land and made his way to the eastern region. After entering the eastern region, he continued to make his way to the dragon's estate. During this journey, Duan Lingtian traveled at full speed, so it did not take him long to arrive at the 100,000 mountains where the dragon's estate was located. This is the 100,000 mountains? This is where the dragon's estate is? To Duan Lingtian, the illusory fog formations outside the dragon's estate were child's play. With his current strength, he could easily see through it. He could even ignore it. Swoosh! Duan Lingtian moved as the sword formation under his feet opened up a path for him. He turned into a streak of light as he charged into the Dragon Clan's estate. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! I can feel the terrifying speed just by listening to the sound. Is it a Devil Clan's powerhouse? Who dares to trespass on the dragon's estate? Many people in the dragon's estate were horrified when they heard the sound. It was obvious the newcomer did not come with good intentions. At this moment, a commotion broke out in the dragon's estate. Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of Seven Absolute sect, has come to the dragon's estate to seek revenge for the culprit who killed Gu Li and Yu Wuing. If the dragons don't hand over the culprit, I, Duan Lingtian, will annihilate the dragons today. A thunderous voice descended from the sky and was clearly heard by all the members of the dragon tribe in the dragon tribe's encampment. Instantly, the entire dragon clan's encampment fell into dead silence. Duan Lingtian? The sect leader of Seven Absolutes sect had personally come? That was not the main point. The main point was, the sect leader of Seven Absolutes sect had said he had come to the dragon's estate to seek revenge. Moreover, he had said he would annihilate the dragons if the dragons did not hand over the culprit who killed the members of Seven Absolute sect. Did I hear wrongly? The sect leader of Seven Absolute sect, Duan Lingtian, said he's going to annihilate the dragons? Somewhere in the Dragon Clan's encampment, a member of the Dragon Clan questioned in shock. You heard right. He said he'll annihilate the dragons if the dragons don't hand over the culprit who killed Gu Li and Yu Wuing. He's crazy. Crazy. The sect leader of 7 Absolutes sect is crazy. Who does he think he is? How dare he threaten to annihilate the dragons? He's digging his own grave. The sect leader of 7 Absolutes sect is digging his own grave. The people in the dragon's estate roared furiously when they regained their senses. Moreover, they felt the same way. Chapter 2484. In the air above the dragon's residence in the 100,000 mountains, a purple-clad young man hovered in the air as he looked down indifferently. This was where the dragon's residence was located. "Senior brother Gu Li, I'll avenge you today." All of a sudden, the purple-clothed young man spoke in a low voice. His originally cold gaze instantly became incomparably sharp, as if it could pierce through everything. The purple-clad young man was none other than Duan Lingtian, who had just barged into the dragon's residence. He would kill the dragons. This was exactly what he had just said, and it was not a lie. If the dragons refused to hand over the culprit who killed Gu Li and Yu Wuing, he would kill the dragons to avenge Gu Li, Yu Wuing, and Xuanai's master. Originally, when he had just returned, he had thought that he might as well directly exterminate the dragon clan without saying a word. After all, he had the ability to do so now. Even if he was not strong enough, he still had Kerr. With Kerr's help, even if there were 10 dragons, she would not be able to kill them, let alone 1 dragon. However, when Duan Lingtian thought about how the dragons had helped the Saint Province realm, he decided to kill the culprit who killed Gu Li and Yu Wuing. As long as the dragons no longer treated him, Duan Lingtian, and the 7 Absolute sect as their enemies, he would let bygones be bygones. Naturally, this was on the premise that the dragons were willing to cooperate. If the dragons were unwilling to cooperate, Duan Lingtian would not be merciful and would just kill them. There's no bodiless celestial among the dragons who has cultivated the soul congregation embodiment technique. Duan Lingtian had learned this from Chen Yiru. Otherwise, he would not have come alone today. After all, if there was a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial among the dragons who had cultivated the soul congregation embodiment technique, Duan Lingtian would be in a passive position and might even die before he could achieve victory. It was precisely because he had long known this that he dared to make a declaration after arriving at the Dragon Clan. If the dragons refused to hand over the culprit who killed Gu Li and Yu Wuing, he would Duan Lingtian and kill the dragons. Naturally, it's not a big deal even if the Dragon Clan has a bodiless celestial who has mastered the soul congregation embodiment technique. As long as I bring Ko with me, even a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial who has mastered the soul congregation embodiment technique won't be able to hit me. Er's current cultivation base is comparable to a golden celestial in the Devata realms. Her soul is also comparable to a golden celestial in the Devata realms. With Ku-Er's soul, she can easily block the soul attack of a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Duan Lingtian felt relieved when he thought about Kerr. In fact, before entering the Beyond Heaven secret zone, Duan Lingtian did not think he would need to rely on Kerr. However, it had to be said that Kerr's current strength had given him a lot of confidence. If the dragons don't know what's good for them, I'll just kill them. With Kerr's and my strength, even if there are no dragons in the Saint Province realm, there's no need for us to fear the devil clans from the land of exile. The moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, his eyes shone brightly as he waited for the Dragon Clan's response. Duan Lingtian hovered behind the clouds above the Dragon Clan's estate. His surroundings were calm and serene. Meanwhile, a commotion broke out in the dragon's residence. Annihilate the dragons? Someone actually said he wants to annihilate the dragons. In the past, in the long history of the dragons, no one has ever dared to claim that they want to annihilate the dragons. Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect, is really out of his mind. Humph! Ever since the devil clans invaded the upper province, we haven't heard anything about Duan Lingtian. Not only did he appear in the dragon's residence, but he even threatened to annihilate the dragons if we don't hand over Duan Lingtian. He must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts. The Patriarch and the Supreme Elders must have heard Duan Lingtian's words by now, right? Humph! As long as the Patriarch and the Supreme Elders make a move, Duan Lingtian will definitely die. Similar discussions could be heard everywhere in the dragon's residence. However, none of the dragons thought Duan Lingtian was strong enough to annihilate the dragons. They thought Duan Lingtian was digging his own grave by coming here. Somewhere in the dragon's residence. At that time, I was the one who personally killed Guli. However, I was only acting on the orders of Elder Di Huan, the supreme elder of our dragon clan. Based on Duan Lingtian's words, it seems like he wants the dragons to hand over Elder Di Huan. Hearing the threatening words coming from the horizon, the middle-aged man who was originally sitting cross-legged on the mountainside cultivating suddenly opened his eyes. As he muttered, a disdainful and mocking smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. At another place, he wants the dragons to hand over Elder Di Huan? How naive! Why doesn't he think about it? Even if the dragons really hand over Elder Di Huan, is he a match for Elder Di Huan? Is he able to kill Elder Di Huan and avenge the members of the Seven Absolutes sect? The two members of the Dragon Clan who were ordered by Di Huan, the supreme elder of the Dragon Clan, to kill Yu Wuing and Han Xuanai's master could not help but sneer as they spoke. Their eyes were filled with disdain. Di Huan was the supreme elder of the dragons. He was also the father of Di Chen, an elder of the dragons who had failed the Celestial Ascension Tribulation because of Duan Lingtian. At that time, Duan Lingtian had given Di Chen a taste of his own medicine. He had forced Di Chen to kneel and beg for mercy. Due to this, Di Chen, who was about to undergo the bodiless Celestial Tribulation, had failed the Celestial Ascension Tribulation. Due to this, Di Huan, Di Chen's father and the supreme elder of the dragons, viewed Duan Lingtian as his mortal enemy. He could not wait to kill Duan Lingtian. When Di Huan found out that Duan Lingtian was the current sect leader of the Seven Absolute sect, he had vented his anger on the members of the Seven Absolute sect. Gu Li, Yu Wuing, and Han Xuanai's masters were killed at that time. In a vast valley in the dragon's residence. Bang! Accompanied by a loud sound, the calm surface of the lake in the valley suddenly exploded. Immediately after, splashes of water flew in all directions. It was an exceptionally beautiful scene. At the same time, a figure shot out from the lake like a cannonball, shooting straight into the sky. After a while, another figure appeared in the sky above the valley. At this moment, any bodiless celestial from the dragons would be able to recognize this person. The owner of the figure was none other than Elder Di Huan, one of the three supreme elders of the Dragon Clan. Duan Lingtian, you actually came to me on a silver platter. Good. Very good. Di Huan was meditating under the lake when he heard Duan Lingtian's voice. He was instantly awakened from his meditation. Moreover, he was so excited that he felt as though he had been injected with chicken blood. Throughout the past few years, he had never stopped searching for Duan Lingtian. Even after the devil clans had invaded the upper province, he was still determined to find Duan Lingtian. He wanted to avenge his son. He realized that his son's death, to a certain extent, had become his obsession. If Duan Lingtian did not die, he would definitely die when he had to face the 8th bodiless celestial tribulation. For this reason, he did not care about the invasion of the devil clans. He only wanted to find Duan Lingtian and avenge his son. At the same time, he wanted to help Duan Lingtian overcome his obsession so he could face the 8th bodiless celestial tribulation. To Di Huan, the devil clans slaughtering humans and people from the Saint Province realm had nothing to do with him. Only his own affairs were the most important. He would only do his best to deal with the devil clans if the devil clans wanted to kill him. Currently, even if the Patriarch of the Dragons sent him to deal with the devil clans, he would only deal with it as he was not interested in it at all. How could he not be excited when he heard Duan Lingtian's voice and learned Duan Lingtian had come to him? Although he was in the midst of cultivating, he quickly regained his senses. Annihilate my dragons? I'd like to see where you, Duan Lingtian, get the confidence to speak such arrogant words. When Di Huan recalled Duan Lingtian's arrogant words, he narrowed his eyes and smirked disdainfully. In the next moment, bang! As Di Huan's legs shook the void, the space immediately collapsed. Terrifying cracks appeared in the void. The cracks in the void intertwined with each other, forming a huge spider web in the void. Swoosh. At the same time, Di Huan shot up into the sky, stirring up a gust of wind as he flew toward the source of the voice. Duan Ling Tian. I, Di Huan, ordered my men to kill the members of the Seven Absolutes sect. Today, I'd like to see where you get your courage from to annihilate my dragons. Today I, Di Huan, the Supreme Elder of the Dragons, will kill you among the dragons. I'll show the world that no one can blaspheme the dignity of our dragons. Di Huan shot up into the sky and flew toward Duan Lingtian through the clouds. His voice that was as loud as a bell resonated in the air. In just a blink of an eye, his voice swept through the dragon's residence, alarming all the dragons. It's Elder Di Huan. Elder Di Huan has personally made a move. Let's go. Let's go and watch the show. I'd like to see how many moves Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the Seven Absolute sect, can take from Elder Di Huan. Humph. Elder Di Huan is the Supreme Elder of the Dragons, and he's a Seven Tribulation bodiless celestial. I'm afraid Duan Lingtian won't be able to take even one move from Elder Di Huan. That's what I think too. The members of the dragon's residence who were enraged by Duan Lingtian's arrogant words were excited when they heard Di Huan's voice. Chapter 2485. The people from the dragon's impression of Duan Lingtian was from a few years ago. At that time, they knew Duan Lingtian was extremely strong. Duan Lingtian's strength was comparable to a sixth tribulation bodiless celestial. For this reason, even after a few years had passed and Duan Lingtian had reappeared, they still regarded him as a sixth tribulation bodiless celestial. They did not think the current Duan Lingtian was comparable to Di Huan, the Supreme Elder of the Dragons. At the very least, most of the people from the dragons thought so. Of course, there were also a few people from the dragon clan who were calmer and more thoughtful. A few years ago, Duan Lingtian's strength was comparable to a sixth tribulation bodiless celestial. Recently, Duan Lingtian has completely disappeared. It's likely he's in closed-door cultivation and hasn't gone out at all. It's very likely that his strength has improved since a few years ago. Not only did he trespass on our territory, but he even said that if we don't hand over the culprit who killed the Seven Absolute sect's disciples, he'll annihilate the dragon tribe. He's either too confident or he's digging his own grave. As the sect leader of the Seven Absolute sect, the successor of the Fog Rain progeny, the first absolute of the Seven Absolute sect, would Duan Lingtian be suicidal? The people from the dragons were much calmer than the rest. They had considered the situation thoroughly. Unfortunately, their voices were too soft. They were soon drowned out by the voices of the people from the dragon clan who were confident in Di Huan, the Supreme Elder of the dragon clan. They did not manage to stir up even the slightest commotion. Duan Lingtian. Di Huan, the Supreme Elder of the dragon clan, moved like the wind and arrived behind the clouds above the dragon clan's estate. When he saw the purple-clad young man standing in the distance, his eyes narrowed slightly. Then he let out a low roar of excitement. This was Di Huan's first time meeting Duan Lingtian. However, he had seen Duan Lingtian's portrait more than once in the past, so he had long memorized the Duan Lingtian's appearance and physique. Even if Duan Lingtian had disguised himself, as long as he didn't hide his body shape, he would still be able to recognize him at a glance. What's more, the Duan Lingtian standing in front of him was not in disguise. A moment later, Di Huan appeared near Duan Lingtian in a flash. He stood in the air and stared coldly at Duan Lingtian. In his eyes, the flames of anger were brewing. They continued to rise and burn, as if they would soon turn into a prairie fire. Di Huan? As soon as Di Huan appeared, Duan Lingtian shifted his gaze to Di Huan. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's face emitted waves of coldness as though it was covered in a layer of frost. In fact, Duan Lingtian had long guessed that the mastermind behind the deaths of the dragons who killed Gu Li, Yu Wuing, and the others was Di Huan. He was also the father of Elder Di Qin of the dragons in the past. However, when he heard Di Huan admit it, he could not help but feel angry. When Di Huan appeared and confronted Duan Lingtian, the smell of gunpowder filled the air. Bush, 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 bush. Following waves of swift rushing sounds, dozens of figures appeared behind the clouds in the sky above the dragon tribe's territory in the blink of an eye. Moreover, the number of these figures continued to increase. In a short moment, there were over 100 people. These people were dragons who had gathered from all over the dragon's residence to join in the fun. Greetings, Supreme Elder. Greetings, Elder Di Huan. The first thing these dragons did when they arrived was to greet Di Huan, who was confronting Duan Lingtian. After that, they stood at the side and watched the situation unfold. He's Duan Lingtian? The sect leader of 7 Absolutes sect? That's him. Although I've never seen him in person, I've seen his portrait before. He's the one who threatened to annihilate all dragons if we don't hand him the mastermind behind the deaths of his 7 Absolute sect's disciples. Elder Di Huan has already said that he's the mastermind behind the deaths of his 7 Absolute sect's disciples. Now that Elder Di Huan is here, I'd like to see what he can do to Elder Di Huan. Humph. I bet he didn't know that the mastermind behind the deaths of his 7 Absolute sect's disciples was Elder Di Huan, right? At this moment, most of the dragons were looking at Duan Lingtian as though they were looking at a dead man. Duan Lingtian was, naturally, aware of the dragon's contempt for Duan Lingtian. However, he did not care about it at all. He looked at Di Huan emotionlessly before he asked indifferently, "Earlier, you were the one who said that you were the one who ordered the deaths of my 7 Absolute sect's disciples?" When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his question, his tone was still indifferent. However, there was a hint of killing intent in his tone. "So what if I did?" Di Huan sneered in response to Duan Lingtian's question. It was as though he was not afraid of anything. "What enmity do they have with you and the dragons?" Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes as a cold glint flashed in them. "Yes, they have no enmity with me and the dragons, but they're from the 7 Absolute sect. Duan Lingtian, you humiliated my son and caused him to become obsessed with you, causing him to fail his heavenly tribulation. If you don't show up when I want to kill you, I'll kill your 7 Absolute sect's disciples to vent my anger. Instead of saying that I ordered my men to kill them, it's more accurate to say that you, Duan Lingtian, caused their deaths." The sneer on Di Huan's face deepened when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. "Then, do you know why I humiliated your son?" Upon hearing Di Huan's words, energy surged out of Duan Lingtian's body. In just a blink of an eye, a whirlpool appeared and devoured the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings, causing the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings to become a part of his energy. Following that, his energy skyrocketed as though he had transformed into a ball of flames. When he rose into the air, he seemed to have transformed into a flaming beast that bared its fangs and brandished its claws. At this moment, it was apparent that Duan Lingtian had also cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, that he had mastered. "I'm not interested in knowing." Di Huan replied coldly. "You're not interested in knowing? Then I'll let you know." Duan Lingtian abruptly opened his narrowed eyes, and his eyes shone brightly. "It's because your son, under the circumstances that he thought his strength surpassed mine, he first humiliated me with words and asked me to kneel, kowtow, and beg for mercy. I, Duan Lingtian, am merely giving him a taste of his own medicine by humiliating him." A hint of coldness could be seen on the corners of Duan Lingtian's lips when he finished speaking. Previously, when he had humiliated Di Qin, he was merely giving him a taste of his own medicine. He did not feel guilty at all. However, Di Huan had vented his anger on the members of the 7 Absolute sect because of that incident. He was thoroughly enraged. "So what?" Di Huan sneered again as his eyes shone fiercely. "Today, Duan Lingtian came knocking on my door and trampled on the dignity of the dragons. I, Di Huan, will kill you to protect the dignity of the dragons and avenge my son." As soon as Di Huan finished speaking, a vast energy surged out of his body and slammed into the air, causing terrifying cracks to appear in the void. Moreover, the cracks did not close up even after a long time. The Supreme Elder is going to make his move. Elder Di Huan is going all out. If the Supreme Elder makes his move, Duan Lingtian will definitely die. When the crowd saw that a battle was about to break out, They held their breaths as they focused on the scene before them. Most of them thought Duan Lingtian would definitely die if Di Huan made his move. Di Huan roared as he made his move against Duan Lingtian under everyone's watchful eyes. As a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial, Di Huan was, naturally, not weak. In just a blink of an eye, he disappeared from everyone's sight. Only a few dragons and bodiless celestials managed to catch a glimpse of his afterimage. Di Huan's speed was ridiculously fast in the eyes of a few dragons and bodiless celestials, but to Duan Lingtian he was as slow as a snail. "You're just like an ant." A disdainful smile appeared on Duan Lingtian's face when he saw Di Huan had overestimated himself and made a move against him. Then, Duan Lingtian raised his hand and a sword appeared in his hand. It was the celestial sword he had used when he was in the Beyond Heaven secret zone. Body and sword as one. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian's celestial sword shone with dazzling sword rays. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Even the pores all over his body shot out a myriad of sword gleams. In the end, they fused with his body and condensed into a simple and unadorned sword. The sword hovered in the air with its aura concealed, making it look like an ordinary weapon. In the next moment, under the watchful eyes of the others, Duan Lingtian, who had transformed into an inconspicuous sword, calmly swung his sword at Di Huan who was charging at him. Swoosh! The crisp sound of a sword whistling in the air rang in the air. Everyone present on the scene clearly saw the sword. Even some of the weaker dragons could see the trajectory of Duan Lingtian's sword. They had a feeling when they saw the sword. This sword was extremely ordinary. At the same time, a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial from the dragons scoffed. "I thought Duan Lingtian would be able to unleash some terrifying technique after becoming one with his sword. I didn't expect his sword to be so ordinary. Does he really think he can stop Elder Di Huan with just this sword? He must be dreaming." The 6 tribulation bodiless celestial from the dragons was about to say that Duan Lingtian was dreaming. He was the one who had interrupted his own words. In the next moment, a horrified expression appeared on his face as he stared at Di Huan in disbelief. "Heavens! How's this possible?" Chapter 2486. Swoosh! The sound of a sword whistling in the air was short-lived. The 6 tribulation bodiless celestials of the dragon clan were shocked by the scene in front of them, and their pupils constricted. "Please have mercy." 2 anxious voices rang in the air. In the blink of an eye, the people who spoke appeared again. They were a middle-aged man and an old man. However, the 2 of them were still too late. Di Huan, a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial, who was charging at Duan Lingtian, was killed in just a blink of an eye. Gasp, 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 gasp. The members of the dragon clan were stunned when they saw their supreme elder, Di Huan, being killed in just a blink of an eye. When they regained their senses, they could not help but gasp in shock. Fear and horror were written all over their faces. How's this possible? Elder Di Huan is a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. He's extremely powerful. However, he couldn't even withstand a single blow from Duan Lingtian. I'm not dreaming, right? Elder Di Huan was killed by Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of 7 absolute sect, with just a single blow. Most of the clansmen of the dragons had lost sight of Di Huan as soon as he made his move. They only regained their senses after Di Huan was killed. When they regained their senses, they were, naturally, shocked and in disbelief. After all, apart from the elusive patriarch, the 3 supreme elders, including Di Huan, were the strongest in the dragon clan. But now, Di Huan had died in front of them. Moreover, he had been killed in just a single blow. They could not help but shudder when they thought about it. Swoosh! At the same time, the plain-looking sword that had pierced through Di Huan's glabella and arrived at the other side after killing Di Huan flashed and turned into a tall purple figure. It was none other than Duan Lingtian. Since Di Huan had taken the initiative to attack him, he did not remain idle. He immediately activated the elementary devouring spell that had increased his strength, and combined it with the 4th stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, which gave him the ability to become one with the sword. Then he performed the 13 green lotus swords and faced Di Huan head-on. The strength of his attack was comparable to the full-powered attack of an ordinary 8 tribulation bodiless celestial. How could Di Huan, a mere 7 tribulation bodiless celestial, possibly withstand Duan Ling Tian's attack? He was directly killed by him. Senior brother Guli, I've avenged you. After Duan Ling Tian appeared, he did not pay any attention to the 2 dragons who had just arrived, nor did he pay any attention to the other dragons. He just stood there looking straight into the sky, muttering to himself. To him, not only was Gu Li a member of the 7 Absolute Sect, but he was also his friend and senior brother. Meanwhile, Duan Ling Tian was muttering to himself. Meanwhile, the 2 dragons who had just arrived looked at Duan Ling Tian from a distance. Their faces paled, but they had no intention of making a move. This was because they knew Duan Ling Tian was not weak at all. Since Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute Sect, could easily kill Di Huan, who was also a supreme elder like them, it meant he could easily kill them as well. After all, they were only 7 tribulation bodiless celestials like Di Huan. He's so strong now? The current sect leader of the 7 Absolute Sect, the successor of the Fog Rain progeny, the first absolute of the 7 Absolute Sect. It seems like he's not much weaker than Sword Saint Feng Qingyang. After witnessing Duan Ling Tian's strength, both of them could not help but tremble in fear. Sword Saint Feng Qingyang was someone who was on par with the dragons. Now, Feng Qingyang's successor was born, and he was also heaven-defying. They could not help but feel shocked. It's the Supreme Elders. The 2 Supreme Elders are here as well. Moreover, they seem to be trying to stop Duan Ling Tian from killing Elder Di Huan. Trying to stop Duan Ling Tian from killing Elder Di Huan? What a joke! Duan Ling Tian killed Elder Di Huan with just a blow. These 2 Supreme Elders are 7 tribulation bodiless celestials like Elder Di Huan. It's impossible for them to stop Duan Ling Tian. Based on Duan Ling Tian's strength, even if Elder Di Huan isn't dead, I'm afraid the 3 Supreme Elders from the dragons won't be a match for him even if they join forces. Isn't it obvious? Soon after, more and more clansmen from the Dragon's clan began to recognize the 2 Supreme Dragons who had just arrived. They were the other 2 Supreme Elders from the Dragon's clan. They were as famous as Di Huan, the Supreme Elder who had just been killed. The other 2 Supreme Elders from the Dragon's clan? Duan Ling Tian raised an eyebrow when he heard the clansman's words. Then he looked at the 2 Supreme Elders from the Dragon's clan indifferently. Earlier, he had vaguely sensed these 2 Supreme Elders were not simple. He did not expect them to be so powerful. These 2 men were the other 2 Supreme Elders of the Dragon clan. They were 7 tribulation bodiless celestials who were as famous as Di Huan. Duan Ling Tian chuckled inwardly when he saw the Supreme Elders from the Dragon's clan seemed a little nervous when he looked at them. It was as though they were afraid he would attack them. It's time for me to return. Since Duan Ling Tian had killed the mastermind behind the deaths of Gu Li, Yu Wuing, and the others, he did not plan to stay in the Dragon's clan any longer. After looking at the 2 Supreme Elders from the Dragon's clan, he prepared to leave. His main purpose in coming to the Dragon's clan was to avenge Gu Li and the others. He did not care about the Dragon's declaration that they were against him and the 7 Absolute Sect. He knew the Dragon's clan would not hesitate. In the near future, the Dragon clan would make a new announcement. Even if they were not on good terms with the 7 Absolute Sect, they would definitely not be enemies with the 7 Absolute Sect. Duan Ling Tian was confident that he and his wife, Ke, would be strong enough to deter the dragons. He believed the dragons would not dare to target the 7 Absolute Sect anymore. Duan Ling Tian was about to leave when a voice suddenly rang in the air. A thunderous snort rang in the air. It was deafening and seemed to come from all directions. You think you can just leave after killing the Supreme Elders of the Dragon's clan? Duan Ling Tian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute Sect? Do you really think no one in the Dragons can stop you? After the cold snort was heard, a dignified voice sounded. Lord Clan Leader. When the 2 Supreme Elders of the Dragon clan heard the voice, they turned around and looked at the empty space in the distance. They bowed respectfully. Their attitudes were extremely humble. Lord Clan Leader? Seeing the actions of the two grand elders of the Dragon Clan, the remaining members of the Dragon Clan were stunned for a while. After that, they also turned around and bowed to the empty space in the distance and said respectfully, "Senior Elder, please accept my invitation." "Welcome, Lord Clan Leader." "Welcome, Lord Clan Leader." After hearing the words of the two supreme elders of the dragons, they also realized the owner of that voice was none other than the clan leader of the dragons. Right now, the dragons only had one clan leader, and that was the inner clan leader of the dragons. At the same time, he was also the strongest person among the dragons. Lord Patriarch has always been elusive. Even though I'm a loose immortal, I've never seen him. However, I didn't expect that Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the Seven Absolute Sect, would cause such a ruckus today, allowing me to meet Lord Clan Leader. One of the dragon's loose immortals muttered to himself. He couldn't help but feel excited. In his eyes, the inner clan leader of the dragons was a godlike existence. It was his good fortune to be able to meet him. As for the other dragons, only a few of them had seen the inner clan leader of the dragons before, and they were all looking at the empty space in front of them with anticipation in their eyes. A gust of wind blew in the empty space in the distance, and a tall and sturdy figure appeared. It was a tall and sturdy old man. The old man was wearing a long golden robe. He had a square face, and his facial features were firm. His brows were sharp, and he gave off a dignified aura. With one look, one could tell that he was someone who had been in a high position for a long time. At this moment, the dignified golden-clad old man was looking at Duan Lingtian, who was about to leave. When Duan Lingtian heard the old man's voice, he was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he came to a halt. At the same time, he calmly looked at the old man who had just appeared. He stared back at him without fear. In the end, Duan Lingtian was the first to speak. "Everyone thinks you're an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial. I didn't expect there's a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial among the dragons," Duan Lingtian said nonchalantly after exchanging glances with the patriarch of the Dragon Clan. His words revealed the patriarch's cultivation base. "You can tell I'm a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial?" As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the patriarch of the Dragon Clan could not help but exclaim in surprise, "You're right, Duan Lingtian?" His original dignified image had also vanished without a trace at this moment. Duan Lingtian could not help but laugh inwardly when he heard the clan leader of the dragon's words. If it was before he entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone, he would not have been able to tell. He had encountered a few 9 tribulation bodiless celestials in the Beyond Heaven secret zone and discovered the uniqueness of their auras. For this reason, he was able to recognize a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial immediately. 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? Initially, when Duan Lingtian said the clan leader of the dragons was a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial, the other dragons, apart from the 2 supreme elders, did not believe Duan Lingtian's words. However, when they heard the clan leader of the dragon's words, they realized something was amiss. Chapter 2487. A 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? Lord Patriarch is a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? Is this true? Lord Patriarch is a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? A 9 tribulation bodiless celestial is at the peak of the mundane realms. Moreover, they don't appear in every era. However, a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial has appeared in this era? Unbelievable! Unbelievable! The members of the dragons were shocked when they learned their patriarch was indeed a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Before this, they had all known that the Dragon Clan's patriarch was the #1 powerhouse of the Dragon Clan. However, they thought the patriarch of the Dragon Clan was only an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial. They did not expect their patriarch would not be surprised. The clan leader of the Dragon Clan was not an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial but a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial who stood at the peak of the mundane realms. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect Lord Patriarch to be a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. But I'm not dreaming, right? Lord Patriarch is a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial in this era of the Devil Clan's invasion? If Lord Patriarch makes a move, the Devil Clans will definitely run back to the land of exile with their tails between their legs. That's right. Whether it's the Saint Province realm or the land of exile, it's rare for a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial to appear in every era. Although we have a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial in this era, it doesn't mean the Devil Clans have a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial as well. Many members of the Dragon's Clan could not help but look forward to seeing their patriarch personally forcing the Devil Clans to run back to the land of exile. At that time, the patriarch of the Dragon Clan and the Dragon Clan would become the saviors of the Saint Province realm. They could not help but feel excited just by thinking about those scenes. No matter who it was, they all had a dream of becoming a hero. As members of the Dragon Clan, they were no exception. When they thought about how they could bask in the glory of their Lord Patriarch and become a member of the Savior Clan, they felt that they were bound together for glory. Apart from the Patriarch of the Dragon Clan, the other two Supreme Elders of the Dragon Clan were the only ones who were able to remain calm after learning that the Patriarch of the Dragon Clan was a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial. As the Supreme Elder of the Dragon's Clan and a seven-tribulation bodiless celestial, he was, without a doubt, the pillar of the Dragon's Clan. This kind of existence had a lot of contact with the Dragon Clan leader and naturally knew the cultivation base of the Dragon Clan leader. In other words, both of them, including Di Huan who had just been killed by Duan Lingtian, knew the clan leader of the dragons was a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial. Is it strange that I can tell you're a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial? When Duan Lingtian saw that the Dragon's Clan leader was surprised that Duan Lingtian could see through his cultivation, his expression remained unchanged. Isn't it strange? The clan leader narrowed his eyes as they flashed coldly. Not only did an eminent celestial manage to kill our Supreme Elder, a seven-tribulation bodiless celestial, but he even managed to see through my cultivation base. Isn't it strange? The clan leader of the Dragon's Clan leader opened his eyes as he looked at Duan Lingtian. His gaze turned sharp as though it could pierce through anything. Duan Lingtian's expression remained calm when he saw the change in the eyes of the Dragon Clan's patriarch. However, although Duan Lingtian could still maintain a calm expression, it did not mean that the others present on the scene could do the same. That's right. This Duan Lingen is only an eminent celestial. How did he see through Lord Patriarch's cultivation base? The divine consciousness of an eminent celestial is weaker than a three-tribulation bodiless celestial. Even a three-tribulation bodiless celestial wouldn't be able to detect the cultivation base of a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial. How did this Duan Lingtian do it? This Duan Lingtian is really strange. Are all the successors of the first absolute of the seven absolutes sect, the Fog Rain lineage, so unique? All the dragons present, including the two Supreme Elders, were puzzled by Duan Lingtian's ability to see through the cultivation base of the dragon's patriarch. At the same time, they also vaguely realized, Duan Lingtian, the successor of the Fog Rain progeny, the first absolute of the seven absolutes sect, was most likely a freak that was not inferior to the Sword Saint Feng Qingyang. Now that you mention it, Dragon Clan leader, it is indeed strange. Duan Lingtian nodded when he heard the patriarch of the Dragon Clan's words. Then he continued to ask, in that case, what do you intend to do? Do you want to avenge Di Huan and put yourself at risk? Or do you want me to leave and announce that the Dragon's Clan will no longer be enemies with Duan Lingtian and the Seven Absolute Sect? Duan Lingtian spoke in a neither fast nor slow manner. However, the expressions of the people from the Dragon's Clan changed drastically when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. What did he mean by putting himself at risk? Duan Lingtian actually said the patriarch of the Dragon's Clan would put himself at risk if he wanted to avenge Di Huan, the Supreme Elder? He's crazy. Duan Lingtian is crazy. Lord Clan Leader is a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial. He's at the peak of the mundane realm. I wonder where Duan Lingtian gets his courage from. Does he really think he's invincible just because he killed Elder Di Huan? Most of the Dragon clansmen present on the scene thought Duan Lingtian had lost his mind. They thought he had lost his mind for saying such words. Although they were certain Duan Ling Tian's strength was comparable to an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial after witnessing him killing Di Huan, the supreme elder of the dragon clan, with just a blow, they were certain Duan Ling Tian was as strong as an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial. However, they did not believe Duan Ling Tian was stronger than their patriarch of the dragon's clan. After all, their patriarch of the dragon's clan was a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. A 9 tribulation bodiless celestial was at the peak of the mundane realms. Nobody in the mundane realms was a threat to a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. The patriarch of the dragon's clan's expression darkened when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. When Duan Lingtian finished speaking, swoosh, 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 swoosh. The expressions of the people from the dragon's clan, including the patriarch of the dragon's clan and the 2 supreme elders of the dragon's clan, changed drastically when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. Who did Duan Lingtian think he was? Not only that, but he also hinted to the dragon clan's clan leader that if the dragon clan's clan leader wanted to avenge their grand elder, Di Huan, he would sacrifice himself. Duan Lingtian had even said he wanted their patriarch of the dragon's clan to announce that they would no longer be enemies with Duan Lingtian and the 7 absolute sect. Did Duan Lingtian think he was a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial in the Devata realms? Duan Lingtian. Although the patriarch of the dragon's clan had lived for tens of thousands of years, he could not suppress his anger at this moment. I'll kill you today to avenge Elder Di Huan. I'd like to see how a mere eminent celestial like you can kill a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial like me. As soon as the patriarch of the dragon's clan finished speaking, a vast and majestic energy surged out of his body and slammed into the void, leaving cracks in the void. These cracks in the void were like dragons that were suspended in the void and intertwined with each other. It was as if they had transformed into a gigantic spider's web. It was extremely terrifying. This is the strength of a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? At this moment, the people from the dragon's clan were shocked by the strength of their patriarch of the dragon's clan. Even the 2 supreme elders of the dragon's clan were shocked. Although they knew their patriarch of the dragon's clan had become a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial, they had never seen him fight before. For this reason, they were unfamiliar with the strength of a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Now that they had witnessed it, they realized the gap between them and a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial was like a chasm. Some of the weaker members of the dragon's clan were sent flying by the shockwaves from the patriarch of the dragon's clan. They could only watch from afar as their patriarch of the dragon's clan prepared to attack Duan Lingtian at any time. It seems like you're interested in fighting me, patriarch of the dragon's clan. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes when he saw the patriarch of the dragon's clan's strength surging. The celestial sword that Duan Lingtian had just put away appeared in his hand again. Dazzling sword rays shot out as he channeled his energy into it. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As the sword rays shot out, the sound of a sword whistling in the air rang in the air. As expected, it's a legendary celestial supreme treasure. The patriarch of the dragon's clan exclaimed excitedly as soon as the celestial sword appeared in Duan Lingtian's hand. Greed could be seen in his eyes as he stared at the celestial supreme treasure in Duan Lingtian's hand. What? Are you interested in my celestial sword, patriarch of the dragon's clan? Duan Lingtian smiled faintly when he saw the greed in the patriarch of the dragon's clan's eyes. It's easy if you want my celestial sword. You just have to kill me. Humph. The patriarch of the dragon's clan snorted coldly. Even if you don't remind me, I'll kill you and take your celestial supreme treasure to avenge Elder Di Huan. I'll wait and see. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes abruptly, and the smile on his face vanished in an instant. Bang. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the patriarch of the dragon's clan could not help but tremble. Suddenly, the space he was in seemed to have caved in. Chapter 2488. Duanling, since you're in such a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The patriarch of the dragons roared and charged toward Duan Lingtian like a hurricane. Bush, 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 bush. As the patriarch of the dragons charged toward Duan Lingtian, The celestial sword in Duan Lingtian's hand shot out as well. It circled Duan Lingtian's body and continued to split into sword rays. 1 turned into 10, 10 turned into 100, and 100 turned into 1,000. In the end, the sword ray that was hovering around Duan Lingtian rose into the air and formed a mysterious sword formation above Duan Lingtian's head. It emitted waves of mysterious aura. 13 green lotus swords. Duan Lingtian did not hesitate to summon the sword ray in the face of the Dragon Clan's patriarch. Not only that, but he had also fused the profundity of the 13 green lotus swords with his sword. In the end, a sword net barrier was formed not far in front of him as a form of defense. Boom! A loud explosion reverberated in the air. The patriarch of the dragons had arrived in front of the sword net barrier. At the same time, he unleashed a thunderous attack on the sword net barrier. Boom! 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 As the sword light barrier swayed and trembled, waves of extremely powerful energy swept out in all directions. For a moment, only the 2 supreme elders of the dragons managed to stop themselves. The rest of the dragons were forced to retreat. Of course, the distance at which the Dragon Clan's members were knocked back also varied. Those who were stronger did not retreat too far. Those who were weaker were even directly sent flying. Impossible! Before the rest of the dragons could recover from their shock, the patriarch of the dragons' voice boomed like thunder. It shocked the dragons so much that their hearts skipped a beat. Then, they turned to look at the patriarch of the Dragon Clan in unison. At a glance, they discovered that the dragon's patriarch's attack just now was unable to break through the sword net barrier in front of Duan Lingtian. At this moment, the sword net barrier had not been broken by the dragon's clan leader. It had only dimmed a little, but in the blink of an eye, it shone with dazzling light again. It was obvious that it would not take long for it to return to its peak state. When the dragons saw this scene, they couldn't help but widen their eyes in shock. They were completely frightened. Lord Patriarch was actually unable to break through Duan Lingtian's defenses? Are you kidding me? Lord Patriarch, that's a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. If that's the case, this Duan Lingtian might not be weaker than the clan leader? If that's the case, it explains why he was so calm from the beginning until the end even though he knew Lord Patriarch is a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. As it turns out, his strength is on par with a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. An eminent celestial has strength on par with a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? Does this mean Duan Lingtian's strength is on par with Sword Saint Feng Qingyang? When the group of dragon clansmen saw Duan Lingtian's technique, they were shocked as well. At the same time, they realized something was amiss. At this moment, they knew Duan Lingtian was on par with Sword Saint Feng Qingyang from 100,000 years ago. This was because Feng Qingyang was able to kill an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial and fight a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial when he was just an eminent celestial. His strength was on par with a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Currently, Duan Lingtian's strength was on par with a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. You're just an eminent celestial. How can you be so strong? The patriarch of the Dragon's clan leader stared at Duan Lingtian in disbelief. Even Sword Saint Feng Qingyang isn't as strong as him before he ascended to a Devata realm. However, the reason why he's so strong is because he once entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone and obtained a fortuitous encounter there. A hint of disbelief could be heard in the patriarch of the Dragon's clan leader's voice when he spoke. You know about the Beyond Heaven secret zone? Duan Lingtian was surprised when he heard the patriarch of the Dragon's clan leader's words. He did not expect the patriarch of the Dragon's clan leader would know about the Beyond Heaven secret zone. Why wouldn't I know about it? The patriarch of the Dragon's clan leader said in a deep voice, when Feng Qingyang, the sword saint of the 7 Absolutes sect, entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone, many ancestors of the dragons and phoenixes entered as well. However, apart from Feng Qingyang, no one else came out of the Beyond Heaven secret zone. A hint of dread could be heard in the patriarch of the Dragon's clan leader's voice when he spoke about the Beyond Heaven secret zone. Then, do you know the reason I've gone into hiding all these years is because I entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone as well? Duan Lingtian said indifferently. What? The patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader's eyes widened in shock when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. After a long while, realization dawned on him as he nodded. I see. In that case, everything makes sense. No wonder you're as strong as a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. As it turns out, you've also entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone and obtained a fortuitous encounter there. Does this mean the celestial supreme treasure in your hand came from the Beyond Heaven secret zone as well? When the patriarch of the Dragon Clan finished speaking, he shifted his gaze to the celestial sword in Duan Lingtian's hand. Flames of greed burned in the depths of his eyes. That's right. Duan Lingtian nodded. As it turns out, Duan Lingtian has also entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone and obtained a fortuitous encounter there. At this moment, the 2 Supreme Dragon's Clan leader who were also aware of the Beyond Heaven secret zone finally understood. They were no longer surprised by Duan Lingtian's strength. The Beyond Heaven secret zone? What's that? Naturally, unlike the 2 Supreme Elders of the Dragon Clan who knew about the Beyond Heaven secret zone, this was the first time the other members of the Dragon Clan had heard about it. All of them were dumbfounded. While most of the members of the Dragon Clan were still in a daze, the Dragon Clan leader's body suddenly trembled. At the same time, he let out a roar that sounded like a beast's roar. It spread out, bringing a deafening feeling to everyone present. Many people from the Dragon's Clan leader's clan who were still in a daze regained their senses. Then, in front of everyone's eyes, the clan leader of the Dragon tribe shone brightly and transformed into his original form. He was a golden divine dragon that was more than 10,000 meters long. He hovered in the void and covered the sky. An 8-clawed golden dragon? As soon as the patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader transformed into his true form, Duan Lingtian noticed there were 8 claws on each of the patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader's claws. Moreover, it was an 8-clawed golden dragon. Duan Lingen, I'd like to see if you can withstand the full force of my true form's attack. All of a sudden, the 8-clawed golden dragon that the patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader transformed into spoke. As soon as he spoke, his voice reverberated in the air like a deafening bell. In the next instant, the patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader's huge body seemed to have disappeared into thin air under everyone's watchful eyes. Duan Lingtian was the only one who could clearly see the patriarch of the Dragon Clan moving at lightning speed. It was as though the patriarch of the Dragon Clan had transformed into a thick golden whip as he swung it at Duan Lingtian. Wherever the whip passed, it tore the void apart like a piece of paper. The patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader charged at Duan Lingtian menacingly as though he wanted to kill Duan Lingtian. Go! In the face of the patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader, Duan Lingtian controlled the sword formation to win. Bush, 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 bush. The sound of sword whistling rang in the air. The sword formation under Duan Lingtian's control seemed to have transformed into a divine dragon as it charged fearlessly toward the patriarch of the Dragon Clan. Whoosh! Under everyone's watchful eyes, a dazzling light exploded. It was so blinding that they could not help but squint their eyes. The moment they squinted their eyes, bang! A loud noise was heard. Boom, 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 boom. Following that, a series of deafening noises could be heard clearly by everyone's ears. Wah! When the group of dragons opened their eyes, they saw Duan Lingtian being sent flying. When he finally managed to stabilize himself, he could not help but spit out a large mouthful of blood. Our patriarch is still better than him. Instantly, many of the Dragon's Clan leaders' eyes lit up. However, at this moment, pfft! Another noise was heard, attracting the attention of the group of Dragon's Clan leader. At this moment, they discovered the patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader. At some point, their patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader had reverted to his human form. He was standing in the distance and had spat out a large mouthful of blood. He looked rather wretched. Our patriarch is injured as well? This is a lose-lose situation. At this moment, the people from the Dragon's Clan leader finally realized what was going on. Even though their patriarch of the Dragon's Clan leader had reverted to his true form, the 8-clawed golden dragon, he was still unable to kill Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, I can't kill you, but you're no match for me as well. After a while, the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader who had finally caught his breath said to Duan Lingtian in a deep voice, however, you'll have to give me an explanation for killing Di Huan, the supreme elder of the dragon's clan leader. Otherwise, when you ascend to the Devata realm, I'll search the entire Saint Province realm and annihilate the entire Seven Absolute sect. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes when he heard the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader's words. Suppressing the rage in his heart, he asked in a deep voice, then, I'd like to know what kind of explanation you want from me, patriarch of the dragon's clan leader? As long as you leave the celestial supreme treasure in your hands behind, I and the dragon's clan leader will forgive you and the Seven Absolute sect. The patriarch of the dragon's clan leader said. So, you want my celestial sword? Duan Lingtian finally understood. Since you want it, why don't I give it to you? As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he raised his hand and threw the celestial sword at the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader as though it was a piece of trash. Chapter 2489. The patriarch of the dragon clan did not expect Duan Lingtian would obediently hand over the celestial supreme treasure as soon as he finished speaking. Duan Lingtian was so cooperative that he wondered if he was dreaming. He had threatened Duan Lingtian earlier because he was certain Duan Lingtian must have ascended to the heavenly supreme treasure. He was certain Duan Lingtian had ascended to the Devata realm before him. If Duan Lingtian had ascended to the Devata realm, the Seven Absolute sect would lose Duan Lingtian's support and would be at the mercy of the Dragon Clan. Although his threat was effective, he did not expect Duan Lingtian would be so cooperative. He was still in a daze when he caught the celestial sword that Duan Lingtian had thrown to him. Duan Lingtian's cooperation was beyond his expectations. Duan Ling, I didn't expect you to be so tactful. The patriarch of the dragon clan narrowed his eyes at Duan Lingtian as he held the celestial sword that Duan Lingtian had thrown to him. A mocking smile could be seen on his face as he said, however, haven't you thought about the fact that without this celestial supreme treasure, your strength is equivalent to an 8 bodiless celestial? What? Patriarch of the dragons, are you going back on your word? You want to attack me after I obediently hand over the immortal supreme treasure as you wish? Duan Lingtian asked in a deep voice. He narrowed his eyes when he heard the patriarch of the dragon's words. You're very smart. The eyes of the patriarch of the dragon clan flashed coldly as he said coldly, Duan Lingtian, you're a huge threat to the dragon clan if you're still alive. For this reason, you must die today. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for being too naive. You only handed over the celestial supreme treasure after I swore on the lightning penalty oath that I wouldn't make a move against you. You're cutting off your own path of retreat by doing this. You can't blame me. The patriarch of the dragon's voice was filled with killing intent when he spoke. This Duan Lingtian is simply seeking death. Upon hearing the clan leader of the dragon clan's words, many of the clan leaders of the dragon clan laughed. He's the sect leader of the Seven Absolute sect. How could he be so careless as to hand over the celestial supreme treasure without even asking Lord Clan Leader to swear on the lightning penalty oath? Isn't this a little inappropriate? After all, Lord Patriarch has already said that if he doesn't hand over the celestial supreme treasure, he'll annihilate the Seven Absolute sect. Some of the dragons could not help but frown. They felt the Patriarch of the dragons was going back on his word. Lord Patriarch said that if Duan Lingtian doesn't hand over the celestial supreme treasure, he'll annihilate the Seven Absolute sect after he ascends to the Devata realm. However, Lord Patriarch didn't say that he won't kill Duan Lingtian after obtaining the celestial supreme treasure. That seems to be the case. In that case, Lord Patriarch isn't going back on his word. As long as Lord Patriarch doesn't target the Seven Absolute sect after this, he's not going back on his word. The people from the dragons discussed among themselves. However, they no longer felt the patriarch of the dragons was going back on his word. They felt Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the Seven Absolute sect, was too stupid for not allowing their patriarch to swear on the lightning penalty oath. That was why he was forced into a passive position. Even if Duan Lingtian died today, he had only himself to blame. Now that Duan Lingtian has lost the celestial supreme treasure, his strength is definitely weaker than a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Even if Lord Patriarch doesn't use the celestial supreme treasure, it'll be easy for him to kill Duan Lingtian. That's right. Earlier, Lord Patriarch fought Duan Lingtian to a draw even without using the celestial supreme treasure. Now that Duan Lingtian has lost the celestial supreme treasure, he's definitely no match for Lord Patriarch. Today, the sect leader of the 7 Absolutes sect will die in the dragon's estate. Most of the people from the dragons looked at Duan Lingtian as though they were looking at a dead man. After all, they did not think Duan Lingtian had a chance of surviving after losing the celestial supreme treasure. In the past, the celestial supreme treasure was only a legend to the people from the dragon's estate. Even so, it did not affect their understanding of the celestial supreme treasures. They knew how much a celestial supreme treasure could improve a person's strength. For this reason, they were certain that Duan Lingtian's strength was not weak. After losing the celestial supreme treasure, it was impossible for Duan Lingtian to be as strong as he was earlier. Then, does this mean you're going to kill me, clan leader of the dragons? Duan Lingtian asked calmly with narrowed eyes when he heard the words of the clan leader of the dragons. Even now, he did not panic in the slightest. Of course, the clan leader of the dragons said confidently, "You can only blame yourself for being stupid. You didn't make me swear on the lightning penalty oath that I won't attack you after you hand over the celestial supreme treasure." The chief of the dragons was puzzled as to why Duan Lingtian was able to remain calm. However, he did not think that Duan Lingtian would be able to cause any trouble after losing the celestial supreme treasure. In his opinion, right now, Duan Lingtian was like a fish on his chopping board, completely at his mercy. If that's the case, clan leader of the dragons, will you keep your promise and not attack the members of the 7 Absolutes sect after obtaining the celestial supreme treasure? Duan Lingtian suddenly opened his eyes and asked bluntly. The patriarch of the dragons could not help but be stunned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He had never thought that Duan Lingtian would still think of a member of the 7 Absolutes sect when he was on the brink of death. You don't have to worry about that. Since you've handed over the celestial supreme treasure, I'll, naturally, keep my promise and won't attack anyone from the 7 Absolutes sect. The patriarch of the dragons said. As soon as the patriarch of the dragons finished speaking, many of the dragons who were more upright could not help but heave a sigh of relief. They were really worried that the patriarch of the dragons would go back on his word and attack the members of the 7 Absolutes sect after this. If that really happened, it would be difficult for them to accept it. After all, they did not want to believe that the patriarch of the dragons would go back on his word. Very good. As soon as the patriarch of the dragons finished speaking, a bright smile appeared on Duan Lingtian's calm face. Patriarch of the dragons, based on what you've said, after you die today, I won't touch any member of the dragon clan. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the entire place fell silent. This was because his words were too frightening. At the very least, to the members of the dragons, his words were too frightening. This Duan Lingtian, is he crazy? What kind of nonsense is he spouting? He even handed over the celestial supreme treasure. Does he really think he can kill our patriarch? Even if he didn't hand over the celestial supreme treasure, his strength is only on par with our patriarch. Now that he doesn't even have the celestial supreme treasure, he still dares to say such arrogant words? Is he crazy? I really don't know. Where does he get the courage to say such things at this point? When the members of the dragons regained their senses, they looked at Duan Lingtian in disbelief. They felt that Duan Lingtian must be dreaming. When the patriarch of the dragons regained his senses, he could not help but burst into laughter. After a long while, he finally stopped laughing. Duan Lingtian, I really don't know where you get the courage to say such things after you've lost the celestial supreme treasure. After I die? I'd like to see how you're going to kill me without the celestial supreme treasure. After the patriarch of the dragons stopped laughing, he looked at Duan Lingtian with disdain and mocked him. Without the celestial supreme treasure? When Duan Lingtian heard the patriarch of the dragon's words and faced the mocking gazes of the dragons, he smiled faintly. Then, he raised his hand and a sword appeared in his hand. Once he infused his energy into it, it shot out streaks of sharp sword rays. Bush, bush, bush. As the sword glow swallowed and spat out, an incomparably sharp aura once again spread out. These streaks of aura were comparable to the aura of the celestial sword in Duan Lingtian's hand. This is, when they sensed the sharp aura, the members of the dragons were not the only ones whose expressions changed. Even the expression of the clan leader of the dragon tribe froze at this moment. Another celestial supreme treasure? The two great supreme elders of the dragons looked at each other and saw the shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. They did not expect this at all. After losing a celestial supreme treasure, Duan Lingtian actually managed to retrieve another celestial supreme treasure. Since when did celestial supreme treasures become so worthless? That's a celestial supreme treasure? I think so, right? Oh my god. How many celestial supreme treasures does Duan Lingtian have? Is this still a legendary celestial supreme treasure? Since when did celestial supreme treasures become so worthless? When they realized that the sword Duan Lingtian had taken out was also a celestial supreme treasure, the members of the dragons were dumbfounded. This was something that they had never dreamed of. I didn't expect Duan Lingtian to have a second celestial supreme treasure. At the same time, the patriarch of the dragons had also recovered from the shock of seeing Duan Lingtian take out a second celestial supreme sword. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, there was no hint of fear in his eyes. Instead, a hint of greed could be seen in his eyes as he said, "However, do you think you'll be able to kill me with another celestial supreme treasure? Don't forget, I have a celestial supreme treasure in my hands now. Earlier, when we fought to a draw, I was at a disadvantage because I didn't have a celestial supreme treasure. Now that I have a celestial supreme treasure as well, it won't be difficult for me to kill you." The patriarch of the dragons was full of confidence as he spoke. Today, Duan Lingtian is destined to give us, the dragons, a celestial supreme treasure. The patriarch of the dragons said. Hearing the dragon clan's clan leader's words, the eyes of the two supreme elders of the dragon clan lit up at the same time, and their breathing quickened. Chapter 2490. They did not doubt that the patriarch of the dragons would be able to snatch the second celestial supreme treasure from Duan Lingtian. It was just as the patriarch of the dragons had said. Now that he had a celestial supreme treasure as well, it would not be difficult for him to kill Duan Lingtian, who also had a celestial supreme treasure. After all, the patriarch of the dragons was able to fight Duan Lingtian to a draw even without a celestial supreme treasure. Now that he had a celestial supreme treasure, he would definitely be able to defeat Duan Lingtian. Give the dragons a celestial supreme treasure? Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes when he heard the patriarch of the dragons' words. A cold glint flashed in his eyes as he said, "Go ahead and try." "Of course, I'll try," the patriarch of the dragons shouted coldly. Then, he activated the celestial sword in his hand and launched a thunderous attack at Duan Lingtian. He did not hold back at all. He wanted to kill Duan Lingtian with a single blow so that Duan Lingtian would not have a chance to turn the tables. The patriarch of the dragons was clearly an expert in using swords. When he attacked with the celestial sword, he integrated his techniques perfectly into it and unleashed an attack comparable to an ordinary golden celestial. The sword seemed capable of destroying everything in its path. Submission of 10,000 soldiers. However, in the face of the patriarch of the dragon's ferocious attack, Duan Lingtian, who had been waiting for a long time, condensed a sword formation above his head again. Immediately after, a mysterious aura spread out from the sword formation and swept in all directions. When the aura shrouded the patriarch of the dragons, he was shocked to discover that the celestial supreme treasure was no longer in his hand. The celestial sword in his hand was no longer under his control. In just a blink of an eye, the celestial sword injured his hand and flew toward the sword formation above Duan Lingtian's head. In just a blink of an eye, it became a part of the sword formation above Duan Lingtian's head. That was not all. The group of dragon clansmen who were carrying weapons seemed to be drawn out by an invisible force and merged with the sword formation hovering above Duan Ling Tian's head, becoming a part of the sword formation. What's going on? This technique? What technique is this? How did he snatch my weapon? All of a sudden, those from the dragon clan who had their weapons stolen started to panic again. Patriarch's Lord's celestial supreme treasure as well? The Patriarch of the Dragons, Patriarch of the Dragons, Patriarch of the Patriarch of the Patriarch of the Dragons' Patriarch of the Patriarch. Duan Dragon, S Patriarch and Duan Celestial Supreme Treasures right. Duan Celestial Supreme Treasure. A Duan Celestial Supreme Celestial Swords Treasure Celestial Supreme Treasure? Duan Heavens was sword was Duan Dragons? Duan Dragon. It was the celestial sword that had just escaped his control. This is the technique sword Saint Feng Qingyang used to subdue 10,000 soldiers. As the Patriarch of the Dragons, Patriarch, he knew about the history from 100,000 years ago. He knew sword Saint Feng Qingyang had a technique that could subdue all the weapons in the area and make them submit to him. However, that technique can subdue a celestial supreme treasure? Although the Patriarch of the Dragons knew Feng Qingyang had such a technique, he did not know it could subdue a celestial supreme treasure. No wonder Duan Ling Tian was so cooperative when he handed the celestial supreme treasure to me. As it turns out, he had already anticipated this. He knew I wouldn't be able to use the celestial supreme treasure to attack him even if I obtained it. As the Patriarch of the Dragons, Patriarch, he was, naturally, not a fool. He quickly figured this out. At this moment, the Patriarch of the Dragons, Patriarch, felt like he had nowhere to vent his anger. He had been fooled by Duan Lincoln. Patriarch of the Dragons, take my sword formation again. Duan Lingtian's cold voice rang in the ears of the Patriarch of the Dragons. The Patriarch of the Dragons, Patriarch, was shocked. He hastily reverted to his true form and exerted all his strength to meet Duan Lingtian's sword formation head-on. Boom, 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 boom. History repeated itself. However, this time, Duan Lingtian had two celestial supreme treasures in his sword formation. Although the strength of the two celestial supreme treasures could not be completely combined, the overall strength was still slightly stronger than before. For this reason, Duan Lingtian had managed to severely injure the Patriarch of the Dragons at the cost of minor injuries. Although Duan Lingtian managed to injure the Patriarch of the Dragon Clan, the Patriarch of the Dragon Clan was an 8-clawed golden dragon. His recovery ability was much stronger than Duan Lingtian. While Duan Lingtian was recovering from his injuries, the Patriarch of the Dragons, Patriarch, had also recovered from his injuries. Duan Ling, I have to admit that I won't be able to take you down today. The Patriarch of the Dragons' 10,000-meter-long body hovered in the air. He stared at Duan Lingtian with his huge eyes as he said in a thunderous voice, "However, it's impossible for you to kill me. I'll take a step back. As long as you hand over a celestial supreme treasure, the dragons and I will no longer be enemies with you and the 7 Absolute Sect. Otherwise, I'll definitely wreak havoc in the 7 Absolute Sect after you've ascended." Even at this moment, the Patriarch of the Dragons still coveted the celestial supreme treasure in Duan Lingtian's hands. You should know that as an eminent celestial, you'll be forcefully pulled to the Devata realm by the celestial ascension force in a few years. As a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial who has just passed the 9th bodiless celestial tribulation less than 100 years ago, I can still stay in the mundane realm for more than 900 years. You'd better think about it carefully. The Patriarch of the Dragons did not forget to remind Duan Lingtian. The Patriarch of the Dragons would be able to stay in the mundane realm longer than Duan Lingtian. As long as you hand over a celestial supreme treasure, we'll be able to bury the hatchet between the 7 Absolute Sect and the dragons. The Patriarch of the Dragons said confidently as though he had Duan Lingtian under his control. You're right. Duan Lingtian nodded. Indeed, it's impossible for me to kill you. If that's the case, you should hand over a celestial supreme treasure. It'll be best for both of us, the 7 Absolute Sect and the dragons. The Patriarch of the Dragons said. Why are you in such a hurry? Duan Lingtian's calm expression changed abruptly as a sneer appeared on his face. I only said it's impossible for me to kill you. However, I didn't say it's impossible for other people to kill you. Duan Lingtian said. Other people? The patriarch of the dragons was taken aback when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then he sneered and said, Duan Ling, don't try to fool me. Currently, in the mundane realm, unless you can find a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans to join forces with you, nobody can kill me. Devil clans? 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? Duan Lingtian cocked an eyebrow in surprise when he heard the patriarch of the dragons' words. The devil clans have a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial as well? Isn't it said that 9 tribulation bodiless celestials don't appear in every era in the Saint Province realm and the land of exile? Why is there a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial in the Saint Province realm? Why is there a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial in the devil clan? Duan Lingtian was shocked. There's a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial in the devil clans? At the same time, the members of the dragon clan who were present were also shocked when they heard the words of their clan leader. After all, they had just learned that there were 9 tribulation bodiless celestials in the devil clans. No wonder Lord Patriarch didn't manage to defeat the devil clans even though he's a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. As it turns out, there's a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial in the devil clans as well. I really didn't expect this. If Lord Patriarch joins forces with the sect leader of the 7 Absolute Sect, it's not impossible for them to kill the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial in the devil clans. The members of the dragons discussed among themselves. They felt the patriarch of the dragon clan should not fight with Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute Sect. Instead, they should work together to defeat the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans. If you join forces with that fellow to kill me, Duan Lingtian and the 7 Absolutes sect will be condemned for eternity in this mundane realm. The patriarch of the dragons sneered as he looked at Duan Lingtian. It was as though he was certain Duan Lingtian would not join forces with the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans to kill him. Perhaps, Duan Lingtian would join forces with the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans to annihilate the dragons clan. However, after he died, the minor-major mirror image talisman on him would immediately shatter. At the same time, the mirror image would be transmitted to the corresponding mirror image talisman and displayed to the owner of the mirror image talisman. The owner of the mirror image talisman was none other than the patriarch of the Phoenix clan. In other words, if Duan Lingtian joined forces with the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans to kill him, he would be condemned for eternity. Sect leader Duan. At this moment, one of the supreme elders of the Dragon's clan stepped forward and said to Duan Lingtian, Our patriarch is the only 9 tribulation bodiless celestial in the upper province. If you give our patriarch a celestial supreme treasure, not only will it resolve the enmity between you and our patriarch, but it'll also give you a chance to join forces with our patriarch to kill the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans and defeat the devil clans. Why don't you do it? The supreme elder of the Dragon's clan tried to persuade Duan Lingtian in a friendly manner. That's right. The other supreme elder of the Dragon's clan stepped forward and said, Sect leader Duan, if you join forces with our patriarch, you'll definitely be able to defeat the devil clans. From today onward, your name will go down in history along with our patriarch. This is a great thing for you. All you have to do is give us a celestial supreme treasure. The 2 supreme elders of the Dragon's clan tried to persuade Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian scoffed disdainfully. Naturally, I'll kill the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans and defeat the devil clans. However, there's no need for me to join forces with your patriarch. I don't need to join forces with the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans to kill you. Chapter 2491. I'd like to see how you're going to kill me without the help of a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the patriarch of the dragons felt he had been underestimated and insulted. He could not help but laugh out loud. I'm afraid you won't be able to kill me with the techniques you've used earlier. Most of the people from the dragons shook their heads when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. Does Duan Lingtian really think our patriarch is a pushover? Even if our patriarch doesn't have a celestial supreme treasure, he's still a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. How can an eminent celestial like him kill him? Based on the situation earlier, it's obvious Duan Lingtian has used his full strength. However, he's only evenly matched with our patriarch. With his strength, it's impossible for him to kill our patriarch if he doesn't join forces with the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans. Based on Duan Lingtian's words, it's obvious he doesn't intend to join forces with the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans. However, why is he so confident that he can kill Lord Patriarch? The people from the dragons were stunned by Duan Lingtian's confidence. After all, based on Duan Lingtian's strength, it was impossible for him to kill the patriarch of the dragons. However, they were confused by Duan Lingtian's confidence. The patriarch of the dragons looked at Duan Lingtian with a disdainful expression on his face. Duan Lingtian suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. It was as though there was something behind the clouds. The people from the dragons were stunned by Duan Lingtian's gentle call. Someone's there? Immediately afterward, they also raised their heads and looked in the direction of Duan Lingtian's gaze. Their divine senses also whizzed out immediately. However, he didn't find anything. There's no one. Is there really someone there? Why didn't I notice? That Duan Lingtian is deliberately mystifying things, right? Many of the dragons thought that Duan Lingtian was deliberately mystifying things. Who are you? The leader of the dragons vaguely sensed that there was a person standing behind the clouds. After Duan Lingtian finished speaking, that person made a move and dove down. Is there really someone? All the dragons present, including the 2 supreme elders, couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts when they heard the chief's words. Then he stared at the clouds in the sky, trying to see if there was really someone behind the clouds. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the clouds that they were staring at suddenly dispersed. Then there was a flash in front of their eyes. Before they could react, they saw another figure. They didn't know when, but a slim figure had appeared next to Duan Lingtian. It was obvious that it was a woman. Who is she? She's so fast. The expressions of the 2 Dragon Clan Grand Elders changed the moment their gazes landed on the woman. This was because the woman was too fast. They didn't know how the woman appeared. They didn't even see any trace of the woman's figure when she appeared next to Duan Lingtian. This meant that the woman's speed was beyond the range of what they could see with their naked eyes. Naturally, they knew very well what this meant. Even when Lord Clan Leader moved, we were still able to catch some traces of Lord Clan Leader's movements. However, how did this woman appear there? I didn't even notice her at all. The same goes for me. The 2 supreme elders of the dragon's expression was one of shock after they spoke through voice transmission. In that case, there are only 2 possibilities. The first possibility is that this woman is stronger than a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. The second possibility is that this woman appeared so suddenly that we didn't notice her. That's true. I hope it's the latter. If it's the former, it'd be unbelievable. Even if it's the latter, she's definitely not weak. As the 2 Dragon Clan Grand Elders continued to communicate via voice transmission, they looked at the woman standing beside the purple-robed young man again, and their eyes were filled with wariness. Who's she? At the same time, the group of people from the dragon's eyes shifted to the woman who suddenly appeared next to Duan Lingtian. The peerless face of the woman that could be said to be devastatingly beautiful caused their eyes to light up. Her graceful figure even caused their eyes to be filled with extraordinary splendor. However, most of the people from the dragons had a solemn expression on their faces. This was because they did not see how the woman appeared. Who's this woman? She's so fast. I'm a 5 tribulation bodiless celestial, but I didn't see how she appeared. However, I'm certain she came from the sky. She's the cur that Duan Lingtian mentioned. Duan Lingtian was so confident he could kill Lord Patriarch. Moreover, he said there was no need for him to join forces with the 9 tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clans. Could it be that his confidence came from this woman? Could it be that this woman is also a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial? The people from the dragon clan whispered among themselves as they looked at the woman standing next to Duan Ling Tian with a hint of dread in their eyes. Many of them speculated. This woman was most likely a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial. Otherwise, why would Duan Ling Tian be so confident earlier? Who are you? The patriarch of the dragon's eyes was filled with fear as he looked at the woman standing next to Duan Ling Tian. Although his divine sense had detected the existence of the woman in front of him, the feedback given to him by his divine sense allowed him to clearly sense that this woman was not simple. In particular, when the woman descended from the sky and appeared in front of Duan Ling Tian in a flash, her speed was so fast that even he could only vaguely catch a glimpse of her afterimage. This meant the woman was not weak at all. She was even faster than him. He was certain the woman was not weak at all. She was most likely a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial like him. As for why her speed was so fast, it must be because she had obtained a movement celestial supreme treasure that could increase her speed. However, the patriarch of the dragon's question was met with silence. The woman who appeared next to Duan Ling Tian was none other than Duan Ling Tian's wife, Ke. When Duan Ling Tian tossed the celestial sword in his hand to the patriarch of the dragons as though it was a piece of trash, he had already contacted his wife, Ke, who was far away in the northern region, through a communication jade token. This was because it was very difficult for him to kill the dragon's clan leader with his own strength. It did not cross his mind that the leader of the dragons would be a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial. Even when he found out that the leader of the dragon's clan was a nine-tribulation bodiless celestial, he did not intend to make an enemy out of the dragon's clan. That was because he had already taken his revenge and done what he had to do. As long as the dragons did not make him and the seven absolutes sect their enemy in the future, he could let bygones be bygones. However, what he did not expect was that the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader was determined to kill him to avenge Di Huan, the supreme elder of the dragon's clan. Moreover, the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader coveted the celestial sword in his hand and wanted to kill him to take it away. However, that was not all. What Duan Ling Tian could not accept was the fact that the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader had attacked him. When the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader realized it was impossible for him to take the celestial sword away, the patriarch of the dragon's clan had threatened him. If he did not hand over the celestial sword, he would annihilate the entire Seven Absolutes sect after he ascended to the Devata realm. At that time, Duan Ling Tian had already sentenced the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader to death. For this reason, he had decided to ask Ke to come and inform Ke about it. Then he handed the celestial sword to the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader. He wanted to see what would happen if the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader did not return. Would the clan leader of the dragons go back on his word after obtaining the immortal supreme treasure and say that he would annihilate the seven invincible sect? If the clan leader of the dragons went back on his word, he wouldn't mind wiping out the entire clan of the dragons after the death of the clan leader. The chief of the dragons would never have dreamed that Duan Ling Tian cooperated and gave him an immortal sword, not to tease him, but to test his integrity. If he didn't keep his word, all the dragons would be buried with him. Brother Tian, are we just going to kill him alone? After Ke appeared, she glanced at the patriarch of the dragon clan before she looked at Duan Ling Tian who was standing next to her. Her emotionless eyes were filled with gentleness at this moment. At this moment, in Ke's eyes, it was as if Duan Ling Tian was the only person left in the world. At least he kept his word. After I gave him the celestial sword, he promised not to harm the members of the Seven Absolutes sect. So, it's enough to kill him alone. Duan Ling Tian nodded. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian looked at the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader and said calmly, "You should be thankful that you didn't go back on your word. Otherwise, not only would you die today, but all the dragons would be buried with you." Duan Ling Tian's words revealed something. Earlier, he cooperated and gave the celestial sword to the patriarch of the dragon's clan leader not to tease him, but to test if he would keep his word. This Duan Ling Tian, he didn't cooperate and give the celestial supreme treasure to the patriarch because he thinks he has the ability to take it back? I originally thought that Duan Lingtian did that to tease the patriarch. However, after hearing what he said, it seems like he was testing the patriarch's integrity. From the beginning, he was certain that the patriarch would die today. Chapter 2492. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the expression of the patriarch of the dragons changed drastically. If he had heard Duan Lingtian's words before the appearance of the woman next to Duan Lingtian, he would not have believed Duan Lingtian's words. In fact, he might have even mocked Duan Lingtian. However, now that he knew the woman next to Duan Lingtian was most likely a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial, he was certain Duan Lingtian was telling the truth. Sir, I don't know you, and there's no enmity between us. I hope you won't interfere in the matter between me and Duan Lingtian. The patriarch of the dragons said politely as he looked at Kerr, who was standing next to Duan Lingtian. However, Kerr ignored the patriarch of the dragons again. Upon seeing this, the patriarch of the dragons' expression darkened slightly. However, he did not lose his temper. After all, he knew the woman was not weak at all. Apart from being a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial, she also possessed a movement celestial supreme treasure that could raise her speed to the level of a golden celestial in the Devata realms. This, based on Lord Patriarch's words, it seems like this woman is a threat to him? It seems like Lord Patriarch is wary of this woman joining forces with Duan Lingtian. This woman is most likely a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial as well. Otherwise, Lord Patriarch wouldn't be so wary of her. The members of the dragons could not help but whisper among themselves when they heard the patriarch's words to the woman next to Duan Lingtian. Initially, they were skeptical when they heard Duan Lingtian's words to test the sincerity of their patriarch. However, after seeing their patriarch's reaction, they began to suspect something. What Duan Lingtian said was most likely true. If Duan Lingtian and this woman can really kill the clan leader together, then once they make a move on us dragons, we dragons will definitely be annihilated. Today, if Duan Lingtian and this woman had joined forces to kill Lord Clan Leader and not attack us dragons, we would be thankful that Lord Clan Leader did not go back on his words. After obtaining the immortal supreme treasure, he still said that he would deal with the 7 absolute sect. Indeed, many of the dragons whispered to each other again and brought up this matter. Some people were already secretly rejoicing in their hearts. Although they didn't know if Duan Lingtian and the woman beside him could kill the clan leader of the dragons. However, at the very least, when the clan leader of the dragons was tested by Duan Lingtian, he did not leave any hidden danger for them to annihilate their clan. At this moment, even the 2 grand supreme elders of the dragons could not help but rejoice in their hearts. Clan leader of the dragons, do you know, who is she to me? When Duan Lingtian heard the words of the clan leader of the dragons to Kerr, he could not help but look at the clan leader of the dragons with narrowed eyes. When the clan leader of the dragons heard Duan Lingtian's words, he finally noticed that the woman whom he feared the most. When Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Lingtian, her expression was as gentle as water. It was as though she was looking at her ideal husband. For a moment, the clan leader of the dragons' expression changed. An ominous feeling rose in his heart. She's my wife. At this moment, Duan Lingtian spoke again, revealing his relationship with Kerr, who was standing next to him. The members of the dragon clan shifted their gazes back and forth between Duan Lingtian and before Duan Lingtian spoke again. Boom! Duan Lingtian's words were like a bolt from the blue to the members of the dragon clan, including the patriarch of the dragon clan. They were stunned for a long time before they regained their senses. Duan Lingtian said, Duan Lingtian, you're right. The beautiful woman next to him, who seemed to be a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial, was his wife? Just as the group of dragon clan members were still in a daze, and before they could recover from their shock, a voice rang out. Kerr, who was originally standing next to Duan Lingtian, moved to the space between Duan Lingtian and the clan leader of the dragons in just a blink of an eye. She stood between Duan Lingtian and the clan leader of the dragons. Currently, she was staring coldly at the clan leader of the dragons. Moreover, she lifted her right hand slightly at this moment. Her jade-like slender hand slowly stretched out from under her sleeve. In an instant, her beautiful and alluring hand was clearly reflected in the eyes of everyone present. Bush, 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 bush. As soon as Kerr raised her hand, the sound of wind whistling in the air rang in the air, causing the space around her to tremble. The surrounding space shook violently, and countless ferocious and terrifying spatial cracks appeared. They were densely packed together. Kerr, who was standing in the middle of the cracks, remained motionless. She was not affected at all. The clan leader of the dragons, who had just regained his senses, seemed to have sensed something, and his expression changed drastically. His originally dignified face also flushed red at this moment, and he was so anxious that his eyeballs were darting around. However, his body remained motionless as though he was a statue. Naturally, it was not because he did not want to move. It was because he discovered he could not move at all. It was as though his body was filled with lead. At this moment, the clan leader of the dragons felt his huge body was bound by an invisible force. No matter how hard he tried, he could not move at all. He could only watch helplessly as the woman not far away stretched out her right hand and slowly clenched it together. At this moment, the peerlessly beautiful woman in front of him was like the god of death in his eyes. She brought him endless fear. Although he had reverted to his true form, the 8-clawed golden dragon, he still could not break free from the invisible force that bound him. Why, you are a celestial. A celestial from a Devata realm. Soon after, the clan leader of the dragon's eyes widened as though he had just recalled something. Then he opened his mouth and shouted, completely losing his dignity as the clan leader of the dragons. It was to the extent that his body, which was more than 10,000 meters long, was like a bag of skin that was pleasing to the eye but useless to the eye. A celestial? Upon hearing the clan leader of the dragon's words and sensing the fear in his voice, the dragons present on the scene could not help but tremble in fear. When they looked at Kerr again, their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. Their clan leader of the dragons, who had reverted to his true form, was in such a passive position in front of a terrifyingly young woman. A celestial? Lord Clan Leader said she's a celestial? Isn't a celestial from a Devata realm? Why would she be here? Just as the group of people from the Dragon Clan heard the Dragon Clan's clan leaders yelling, they were confused and puzzled. Her extended her right hand and clenched it into a fist. Boom, 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 boom. An earth-shattering boom suddenly rang out in the space around the Dragon Patriarch's body, causing the entire area to tremble violently. The entire Dragon Clan's territory quaked and swayed. Following that, under everyone's watchful eyes, a huge palm appeared around the clan leader of the dragons. The palm was extremely slender. Upon closer inspection, one could see that it was similar to the clan leader of the dragons. The shape of this palm was almost exactly the same as Kerr's palm, but the difference in size was like heaven and earth. The palm that appeared out of thin air around the clan leader of the dragons was tens of thousands of meters long. As soon as it appeared, it covered the sky. The people from the dragons were so shocked that they could not regain their senses for a long time. Even Duan Lingtian was shocked by this scene. What is Kerr doing? Also, what form this palm seems to be, that rift in space. At the same time, the sharp-eyed Duan Lingtian noticed something else. The palm that appeared around the dragon's patriarch's huge body was tens of thousands of meters long. It was completely formed by the void cracks. The moment the hand appeared, it began to close again, causing half of the sky to seem to have paused. Following that, Duan Lingtian heard the heart-wrenching roar of the dragon's clan leader. But before that, he had already seen, when the palm, which was completely formed by the cracks in the void, closed into a fist, it had already squeezed the dragon's clan leader's huge body in its hand and crushed it to death. In that instant, the aura of the Dragon Clan's clan chief vanished like smoke. The clan leader of the Dragon Clan had fallen just like that, his body and Tao vanishing. In front of the slender palm that was tens of thousands of meters long, the body of the Dragon's clan leader, an 8-clawed golden dragon that was more than 10,000 meters long, was like a slightly larger earthworm. The palm easily crushed it to death. Now, it was not just Duan Lingtian. Even the people of the dragons present only heard the roar of the dragon's clan leader before it died after seeing the dragon's clan leader being crushed to death. And the reason why this happened was because the speed of light was much faster than the speed of sound. Silence. The scene was dead silent. No one made a sound for a long time. Even Duan Lingtian was completely stunned at this moment. Although he knew that Kerr had the ability to easily kill the dragon's clan leader, he did not expect that Kerr would use such a method to crush the body of the dragon's clan leader that was more than 10,000 meters long. This is too exaggerated. The two supreme elders of the dragon tribe secretly inhaled a breath of cold air. After recovering from their shock, they looked at each other and saw the incomparable horror in each other's eyes for a moment. Chapter 2493. After the two supreme elders regained their senses, the members of the dragon clan began to regain their senses as well. Gasp, 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 gasp. After they regained their senses, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. At this moment, they witnessed the scene with their own eyes. After being crushed to death by the gigantic hand, the dragon clan leader's body, which was more than 10,000 meters long, disappeared along with the hand. They knew very well that not only had their patriarch been killed, but there was not even a trace of him left behind in this world. The scene before them caused them to suck in a breath of cold air, and at the same time, it also caused them to tremble in fear. Their patriarch was a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. His strength was even stronger than ordinary 9-tribulation bodiless celestials. Even so, the leader of the dragon clan was still dead. He was killed by a terrifyingly young woman. Is she really a celestial from a Devata realm, as Lord Patriarch said? One of the supreme elders from the dragon clan looked at the beautiful figure hovering in the air with a hint of fear on his face. Apart from a celestial from a Devata realm, who else in the mundane realm can kill our patriarch so easily? The other supreme elder of the dragon clan could not help but smile bitterly when he heard the words of the supreme elder of the dragon clan. From the beginning until the end, she didn't even use any celestial supreme treasures. She just casually crushed the clan leader with her bare hands. She had crushed his patriarch to death. If the two supreme elders from the dragon clan did not see it with their own eyes, they would never have imagined that their patriarch would be able to kill their patriarch. The clan leader of the dragon clan, a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial, was killed by someone with just a wave of his hand. How could a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial be killed so easily in the mundane realm? Who would believe this if they heard about it? However, now that the truth was laid out before their eyes, they had no choice but to believe it. Is she really Duan Lingtian's wife? Duan Lingtian's wife is so powerful that she defies the natural order? His wife is a celestial from a Devata realm? In that case, the reason why he is so strong is most likely because of his wife? Isn't that obvious? When the gazes of the dragon clan members landed on Ku'er once again, their eyes were filled with fear and dread. When they recalled the words of the dragon's patriarch before his death, they unanimously agreed. Duan Lingtian's wife was a celestial from a Devata realm. Moreover, he was a powerful immortal who was even stronger than a 9-tribulation loose immortal and could easily kill a 9-tribulation loose immortal. At the same time, they also guessed. The reason Duan Lingtian was so strong was most likely not only because of the Beyond Heaven secret zone, but also because of his wife. Kerr merely raised her hand and made a grabbing motion in the air, killing the patriarch of the dragon's patriarch, a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. Duan Lingtian was so shocked that he only regained his senses after a long time. However, who was directly involved in this matter, had a calm expression on her face. It was as though killing a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial was nothing to her. Brother Tian, soon after, his calm gaze swept across the group of people from the dragon tribe. All the members of the dragon clan who were targeted by changed their expressions as they trembled in fear. Didn't Duan Lingtian say he won't kill the dragons? According to Duan Lingtian's words, as long as our patriarch doesn't go back on his word, he won't kill the dragons. The good days of the devil clans had come to an end. The Seven Absolutes sect is going to rise to prominence. Many of the members of the Dragon's Patriarch said enviously. Duan Lingtian was the sect leader of the Seven Absolutes sect. Naturally, his wife was considered a member of the Seven Absolutes sect as well. If Duan Lingtian and his wife managed to drive the devil clans back to the land of exile and annihilate the devil clans, they would become the saviors of the Saint Province realm and would be revered by the people in the Saint Province realm. At the same time, the Seven Absolutes sect would rise in status and become a transcendent force in the Saint Province realm. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was unaware of the members of the Dragon's Patriarch's thoughts. Currently, he was making his way to the northern region with Ke. They were preparing to return to the nameless snow-capped mountain where the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate was located. Kerr, it seems like your strength has improved again? On the way, Duan Lingtian looked at Kerr and couldn't help but ask. Yes. Kerr nodded slightly. I've improved a little during this time. Upon hearing Kerr's confirmation, Duan Lingtian realized he was right. The method Kerr used to kill the Patriarch of the Dragon's Patriarch was much stronger than the method she used to kill the 2-9 Tribulation bodiless Celestials in the Beyond Heaven secret zone. Are there any side effects? Duan Lingtian asked with a solemn expression on his face. What he was most worried about was this. While Ko was improving her strength, there would be some kind of sequela left on her body. The loss outweighed the gain. No. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words of concern, Ku'er lightly shook her head and smiled sweetly, as gentle as water. That's good. Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief. After we return, let's make a trip to the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land to investigate the whereabouts of father and mother. After we find them, we'll make a move and send the devil clans back to where they came from. Duan Lingtian looked at Ku'er and spoke of the plan in his heart. I'll listen to you, Brother Tian. Kerr said with a smile. Duan Lingtian's face instantly bloomed into a brilliant smile as he extended his hand to gently stroke Ku'er's beautiful hair. His eyes were filled with tenderness. With a wife like this, what more could he ask for? With Duan Lingtian and Kerr's speed, it did not take long for them to return to the northern region and the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate. Both of them returned to the nameless snowy peak and stayed there for a few days to prepare to head to the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Brother Tian, little black, little white, and little gold will be fine, right? Before they set off, Kerr could not help but think about the 3 little fellows who were still in the Beyond Heaven secret zone. She looked at Duan Lingtian worriedly. When they were still in the Beyond Heaven secret zone, Kerr had learned from her sister that the 3 little fellows had entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone as well. However, even after some time had passed, the 3 little fellows were still nowhere to be seen. For this reason, she could not help but feel worried. Don't worry. Although Duan Lingtian was also worried about the safety of the 3 little fellows, he could not help but comfort his wife when he saw how worried she was. Didn't you hear them say that little black, little white, and little gold strength is much stronger than before? Chapter 2494. With their quick wits and their extraordinary cultivation base, I'm sure they'll be fine. Who knows, they might have already left the Beyond Heaven secret zone by the time we return from the lower province. At that time, I'm afraid we'll have found father and mother in the lower province. Duan Lingtian patted his wife's back and comforted her with a smile on his face. Although Duan Lingtian comforted his wife, a hint of worry could be seen in the depths of his eyes. In fact, he was also worried about the safety of the 3 little fellows. Although the 3 little fellows were not weak, there were many powerhouses in the Beyond Heaven secret zone. There were even many 7 Tribulation bodiless Celestials. Although the 3 little fellows were comparable to ordinary bodiless Celestials, it would be difficult for them to fight against those powerful bodiless Celestials. Yes. Kerr did not know Duan Lingtian's words were insincere. After listening to Duan Lingtian's words, she was no longer as worried as before. Duan Lingtian had achieved his goal. This time, Duan Lingtian and Kerr were the only ones returning to the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Even Feng Tianwu was not tagging along. Feng Tianwu had been in closed-door cultivation recently. Due to this reason, Duan Ling Tian did not bring her along when they returned to the lower province. He was afraid it would affect her cultivation. When Duan Ling Tian and Kerr were leaving the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the dragon's residence in the 10,000 mountains of the eastern province was not peaceful. Although the two supreme elders of the dragons had ordered the members of the dragons present on the scene not to spread the news about what had happened a few days ago, the news was leaked. However, in the end, the matter was still leaked out, causing the entire dragon tribe to be shaken. It was as if an earth-shattering earthquake had occurred. Everyone in the dragons knew about Duan Lingtian's appearance in the dragon's residence that day. They also knew that Duan Lingtian was here. Di Huan, the supreme elder of the dragons, had personally gone to meet Duan Lingtian. However, the people who didn't join in the fun didn't know what happened in the end. Now, as the news spread, everything that happened that day was completely revealed in front of every member of the dragon tribe. At the same time, it also shocked all the members of the dragon clan who didn't know about this before. Elder Di Huan was killed by Duan Lingtian? Heavens! Duan Lingtian is capable of killing Elder Di Huan? Elder Di Huan is a powerful 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. Even a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial was easily killed by Duan Lingtian. His strength must be comparable to an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial, right? Duan Lingtian is just an eminent celestial, but he's so heaven-defying. How can such a monster appear in the mundane realm? When the news of Di Huan being killed by Duan Lingtian spread to the dragons were shocked. They did not expect Duan Lingtian to be so powerful. They did not expect Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolutes sect, to be so powerful. No wonder Duan Lingtian dared to barge into the dragons and demanded that we hand over Elder Di Huan. As it turns out, he's so powerful. Although he's powerful, he's still arrogant when he threatened to annihilate the dragons if we don't hand over Elder Di Huan, right? This was the reaction of the members of the dragon clan who did not know what was going to happen later. Although they knew Duan Lingtian had killed Di Huan, the supreme elder of the dragons, and his strength was not inferior to an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial, they did not think Duan Lingtian was strong enough to annihilate the dragons. After Elder Di Huan's death, Duan Lingtian was preparing to leave as well. At that critical moment, Lord Patriarch showed up. The eyes of the people from the dragons brightened when they learned that Lord Patriarch had shown up after Di Huan's death. Lord Patriarch is the strongest person in the dragons. He's at least an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial. What happened after Lord Patriarch showed up? The people from the dragons who were unaware of what had happened were curious about what had happened. The truth from that day was gradually revealed before their eyes, and it caused all of them to be dumbstruck like wooden chickens and be constantly lost in thought. Lord Patriarch is a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? Since Lord Patriarch is a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial, wouldn't it be easy for him to kill Duan Lingtian to avenge Elder Di Huan? You're wrong. I was there at that time and I thought so as well. However, the final outcome was beyond my expectations. Duan Lingtian's strength is not inferior to Lord Patriarch. Duan Lingtian's strength is comparable to a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Moreover, he even knows a technique to snatch celestial supreme treasures. Since they're evenly matched, what happened in the end? Since Lord Patriarch can't do anything to Duan Lingtian, and Duan Lingtian can't do anything to Lord Patriarch as well, right? You're thinking too much. In the end, Duan Lingtian's wife showed up. Duan Lingtian's wife? What kind of storm can a woman stir up? What happened that day quickly spread throughout the entire dragon clan through the mouths of those who were present at the time, and it also introduced the dragon clan to a woman. She was Duan Lingtian's wife. Duan Lingtian's wife just casually raised her hand and killed Lord Patriarch, who had transformed into an 8-clawed golden dragon that was more than 10,000 meters long? Psst. Is this true? Why do I feel like I'm listening to the heavenly book? Lord Patriarch, that's a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. How could he be killed by a woman? Moreover, he didn't even have the strength to fight back when he was killed by a woman? When the dragons learned about Duan Lingtian's wife's terrifying strength, the people in the dragon city fell silent. Before Lord Patriarch died, he said Duan Lingtian's wife is a celestial from a Devata realm? I'm afraid only a celestial from a Devata realm would have such strength. After news of what happened a few days ago spread in the Dragon City's estate, it quickly spread to the Dragon's estate and the 100,000 mountains. The news spread like wildfire in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land at an extremely fast speed. The Patriarch of the Dragons is a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial? The people in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land were shocked when they found out the Patriarch of the Dragons was a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. After the initial shock, they were pleasantly surprised. We have a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial here. It's only a matter of time before we defeat the devil clans and send them back to the land of exile. Many people were filled with confidence when they found out there was a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. It was as though they could already see the scene of the devil clans being chased back to the land of exile. However, the news that spread next caused them to be dumbfounded. The Patriarch of the Dragons is dead? Moreover, he was killed by someone? The people from the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land had just learned that they had a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial when they heard this news. For a moment, they were all scared, silly, and stunned. That's a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. Who's capable of killing him? Moreover, he was killed by someone. As time passed, the people in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land quickly learned about the matter. While they were learning about the ins and outs of the matter, a statement was released from the Dragon Clan's encampment. From today onward, the dragons will no longer be enemies with the 7 Absolute Sect. As soon as the announcement was made, those who did not believe the news about the death of the Dragon Clan's clan leader had no choice but to believe that the rumors were not groundless. They were certain the news was true. Heavens! That 7 Absolute Sect is really amazing when they don't do anything. For the past few years, there was no news from the 7 Absolute Sect at all. I thought the members of the 7 Absolute Sect had turned into cowards. I didn't expect the 7 Absolute Sect to appear again after a few years and do such a shocking thing. Initially, I thought it was shocking enough that the current sect leader of the 7 Absolute Sect, Duan Lingtian, is as strong as a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. I didn't expect his wife to be even more terrifying. She can kill a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial with just a wave of her hand. The current 7 Absolute Sect seems to be even more monstrous and heaven-defying compared to the 7 Absolute Sect from 100,000 years ago when Sword Saint Feng Qingyang was still alive. The 7 Absolute Sect is really heaven-defying. Not long after, the news of Duan Lingtian's arrival in the Dragon Clan and how his wife, Ku, casually killed the clan leader of the Dragon Clan spread in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. It shocked the entire upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. When the news spread to the snow-capped peak where the 7 Absolute Sect's temporary estate was located, Nangong and Nangong Wuk, who had not been in closed-door cultivation, were shocked. Her strength is so terrifying. Nangong and Nangong Wuk were shocked when they thought about the gentlewoman by Duan Lingtian's side. They did not expect Duan Lingtian to be so powerful. Duan Lingtian's wife actually possessed such a powerful, terrifying, and heaven-defying strength. Nangong Wuk and Nangong Wuk were shocked because of this. Ever since they had reunited with Duan Lingtian and the others in the Beyond Heaven secret zone, no one had told them about Duan Lingtian's wife, Ker's strength. Therefore, when they found out about Ku-er's actions in the Dragon Clan's encampment, they were shocked to the point of being dumbfounded. There's actually someone among the humans who can kill a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial with just a wave of her hand? When the news spread in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, it naturally reached the ears of the devil clans as well. The entire devil clans were shocked. Chapter 2495. The fact that the devil clans occupied half of the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land was enough to prove how powerful they were. There was no lack of bodiless celestials in the devil clans. When the devil clans invaded the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, Most of these bodiless celestials stayed in the land of exile and did not follow the devil clans to the Debussyi subterranean. Later on, when some bodiless celestials from the devil clans left the land of exile and entered the Debussyi subterranean, more and more bodiless celestials followed them to the Debussyi subterranean. Those bodiless celestials who belonged to forces also returned to their own forces. Compared to the bodiless celestials from the devil clans Duan Lingtian had encountered in the human devil Saint City in the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land were just ordinary devils. Now that all the bodiless celestials from the devil clans had appeared, the bodiless celestials were in charge of the devil clans. Moreover, with the appearance of the bodiless celestials from the devil clans, the number of conflicts between the devil clans had decreased. Instead, the devil clans had joined forces to deal with the people from the Dao Martial Saint Land. For this reason, it was not an exaggeration to say that the devil clans were united. In the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the northern and southern regions that were occupied by the devil clans were not divided into territories like the devil clans in the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Everywhere one went, one could see various devil clans. Moreover, these devil clans were living peacefully with each other. There's someone among the humans who can kill a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial with just a wave of his hand? The patriarch of the dragons was killed by the wife of Duan Lingan, the sect leader of the 7 Absolutes sect? When this news spread to the northern and southern regions of the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the devil clans were shocked. Many of the demons were scared out of their wits. There's a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial in the Saint Province realm? In the exiled realm, it takes a few eras for a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial to appear, but there's a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial in the Saint Province realm now? The patriarch of the dragons is a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial? When they heard that the leader of the dragons was a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial, many of them were shocked. They did not expect a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial to exist in this era. Moreover, the 9-tribulation bodiless celestial was in the Saint Province realm. Because of this, many of the demon clan members couldn't help but tremble in fear. However, they soon learned something else. In this era, the devil clans also had a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. According to the news from the dragons, the leader of the dragons said that unless Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolutes sect, joined forces with a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial from the devil clan, it would be impossible to kill him. Based on your words, it's obvious the devil clans have 9-tribulation bodiless celestials in this era as well. I was wondering why the clan leader of the dragons didn't send us back to the exiled realm since he's a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. I didn't expect there's a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial in the devil clans as well. Based on the news from the dragons, the members of the devil clans realized that there was a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial in the exiled realm. The members of the devil clans also had 9-tribulation bodiless celestials. They could not help but feel excited. However, it did not take long before they recalled something. It was as though a bucket of cold water had been poured over their heads. Although Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect, is only an eminent celestial, his strength is comparable to a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. In other words, there are 2 9-tribulation bodiless celestials in the Saint Province realm? The members of the devil clans were shocked when they learned that Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect, was as strong as a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. They did not expect the young sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect to be so strong. After they had invaded the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, they had more or less heard about the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect. However, ever since they had invaded the upper province, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect had disappeared completely. Initially, they thought something must have happened to the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect. Who would have thought, after a few years, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect had reappeared? Moreover, his strength was even stronger than before. Initially, Duan Lingtian, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect, was only suspected to be a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial. However, now his strength was comparable to a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. It said that a heaven-defying genius appeared in the Saint Province realm 100,000 years ago. He was only an eminent celestial, but he was strong enough to kill 8 tribulation bodiless celestials and fight against 9 tribulation bodiless celestials. That heaven-defying genius was known as the Sword Saint in the Saint Province realm. It said that the Sword Saint, Feng Qingyang, was the sect leader of the 7 Absolutes sect at that time. The current sect leader of the 7 Absolutes sect, Duan Lingtian, is also his successor. Duan Lingtian's strength was comparable to a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial when he was only an eminent celestial. That was why the devil clans knew about him. If he was just an ordinary 6 tribulation bodiless celestial, no one would pay any attention to him. The most terrifying thing is Duan Lingtian's wife, the sect leader of the 7 Absolute sect. If the news is true, his wife's strength is much stronger than a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Since she could kill a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial so easily, his wife's strength must be much stronger than a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial. Of course, that's only if the news is true. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. I don't believe there's such a person among the humans. I don't believe it as well. When the devil clans heard that Duan Lingtian's wife, Ker, had easily killed the patriarch of the dragons who was a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial, most of them refused to believe it. They thought it was fake news spread by the humans. As for the purpose of spreading fake news, it must be to intimidate the devil clans. If there's such a powerhouse among the humans, why didn't the devil clans chase us out of the Saint Province realm when we invaded the Upper Province? That's right. If there's such a powerhouse among the humans, why would they allow the devil clans to occupy half of the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land? Humph! Foolish humans! Do they think we're so easily fooled? More and more devil clans began to think the news was fake. As time passed, some of the devil clans even began to think that the rumors were true. Even the news that Duan Lingtian's strength was comparable to a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial, that the patriarch of the dragons was a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial, and that the patriarch of the dragons was killed by Duan Lingtian's wife was fake. Is it true? Or is it fake? In a city in the southern region, a young man flew up into the air with a shocked expression on his face. His strength is comparable to a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? Moreover, his wife is capable of killing a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial? If Duan Lingtian was here, he would have recognized this young man immediately. This young man was none other than Huang Qiling, a disciple of the Wandering Saint Palace whom he had met outside the Human Devil Saint City in the lower province. He was also one of Duan Lingtian's only 2 friends in the Wandering Saint Palace. Sister Wenjing. Soon after, Huang Qiling arrived at a mansion and greeted the person inside respectfully. "Come in." A cold voice rang in the air and beckoned Huang Qiling to enter. Huang Qiling entered the mansion and came to the front yard. He looked at the back of a beautiful figure and asked softly, "Sister Wenjing, have you heard?" The person who had her back facing Huang Qiling was a woman. This was a woman in a robe whiter than snow. She stood there, her long hair like a waterfall. Although only her back was visible, she emitted waves of cold aura, as if she was 1,000 miles away from others. After hearing Huang Qiling's question, the woman's graceful figure trembled involuntarily. Then she nodded her head gently. At the same time, she slowly turned around, revealing a face that was out of this world. However, this peerlessly beautiful face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost at this moment, and the cold air was oppressive. This woman was one of Duan Lingtian's friends from the Human Devil clan after he returned to the lower province after the devil clans invaded the lower province. She was the most beautiful woman in the Human Devil clan, Huang Wenjing. After the devil clans invaded the upper province, the Human Devil clan had followed them to the upper province. As members of the Wandering Saint Palace, one of the top forces in the Human Devil clan, Huang Wenjing and Huang Qiling, naturally, had followed the Human Devil clan to the upper province. Due to this, the Wandering Saint Palace had a place to stay in the southern region of the upper province. Now that the bodiless celestials from the devil clans had appeared, even the high-ranking officials of the Wandering Saint Palace and Yuan Haochun paled in comparison to the bodiless celestials from the devil clans. let alone the two of them. Sister Wenjing, do you think the news is true? Did he really have such powerful strength? What about his... Huang Qiling asked again. However, in the end he remembered that the woman in front of him was interested in that man, so he didn't continue. Because he knew that if he continued to speak, he would touch a nerve of the woman before him. Is his wife really capable of killing a 9 bodiless celestial so easily? However, before Huang Qiling could finish his sentence, Huang Wenjing helped him finish his sentence. Huang Qiling smiled wryly and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Sister Wenjing, there's nothing to be sorry about." Huang Wenjing said indifferently, "There's nothing between us. There's nothing between us in the past, there's nothing between us now, and there's nothing between us in the future." In the end, Huang Wenjing didn't say the word "there's" in the sentence, "there's." This was because a hint of hope could be seen in the depths of her eyes. Even though she felt that Duan Lingtian was not a man. Otherwise, he would not have suddenly disappeared without a trace. He was happy for a while because someone had helped him to avenge his master. However, he did not expect that, after a few years, there was news about Duan Lingtian again. Moreover, according to the rumors, Duan Lingtian's current strength was comparable to a 9 bodiless celestial. How could Yang Zhenxing believe this? In the northern region, a glacier that had not melted for 10,000 years was originally calm. However, all of a sudden, the tranquility of the glacier was broken. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of wind whistling in the air broke the calm on the glacier. It was a few swift figures, whizzing out from different directions at an extremely fast speed. Wherever they passed, a hideous and terrifying void crack appeared in the void. These figures were like space rippers. As long as they passed through the void, there was not a single place that was left intact. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A moment later, a total of 7 figures appeared in the sky above a corner of the glacier. They paused in the same space as if they had discussed this beforehand. "Gentlemen, have you heard about the news as well?" One of the black-clad middle-aged men asked coldly as he looked at the other 6 people. It was not that he wanted to look cold, but he had always been like this. Usually, he would have a stern expression on his face that made him seem unapproachable. Yes. The other 6 people nodded one after another when they heard the black-clad middle-aged man's words. Bang! Not long after the 7 of them appeared in the sky above the glacier, a loud noise rang from the glacier beneath their feet. Following that, the glacier beneath their feet seemed to have suffered a heavy blow from the inside, and a series of hideous and terrifying cracks appeared on it. In the end, the cracks intertwined like a spider web on the glacier. Boom! When the spider web had expanded to a certain extent, another loud noise rang in the air. This time, the glacier where the spider web appeared was directly shattered by an extremely powerful force, turning into ice shards and fragments that filled the sky. They then fell down, falling into the ice water that appeared in the gap on the glacier. Is there a reason you're looking for me? The ice shards that filled the sky continued to fall into the ice water. As the water splashed, an indifferent voice rang out. His voice wasn't loud, but when it reached the ears of the 7 people, it caused their bodies to tremble. "Master Wu Ji! Master Wu Ji!" After the 7 of them were shocked, they quickly regained their senses and bowed respectfully to the old man who seemed to have appeared out of thin air not far away. If there were people who recognized these 7 people here, they would definitely be shocked to see them like this. After all, each of these 7 people was a powerhouse in the devil clans. All of them were 8 bodiless celestials. The 7 bodiless celestials from the devil clans bowed respectfully at the old man. The old man had a medium build and an ordinary appearance. He was the kind of person who would not stand out in a crowd. However, since the 7 bodiless celestials from the devil clans were so respectful to him, it was obvious who he was. He was none other than the only 9 bodiless celestial in the devil clans. The patriarch of the dragons is dead? Are you sure? The expression of the old man, Wu Ji, who was addressed as Wu Ji by the group of 8 tribulation-bodiless celestial venerates from the devil clans, turned slightly gloomy when he heard the news that had spread like wildfire in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. He had learned that the patriarch of the dragons was a 9 tribulation-bodiless celestial not long after he arrived in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. He had even fought the patriarch of the dragons before. They were evenly matched, and neither of them could defeat the other. Now that he knew that the clan leader of the dragon tribe was dead, he immediately felt a strong sense of danger. Since that person was able to kill the patriarch of the dragons, it was only natural that the person would be able to kill him as well. After that, the dragons announced that they would no longer be enemies with the 7 Absolute sect. This news is most likely true. One of the 8 tribulation-bodiless celestials from the devil clan said, "I'm afraid this news isn't baseless." Another 8 tribulation-bodiless celestial from the devil clan said, "Duan Lingtian was unaware of this." At this moment, the 9 tribulation-bodiless celestial from the devil clans had learned about how his wife had easily killed the clan leader of the dragon clan, causing him to tremble in fear. "We can't find them at all? Don't tell me father, mother, and the others have followed the devil clans to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land?" After Duan Lingtian and Kerr returned to the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, they began a thorough search in the lower province in hopes of finding his parents, wife, and friends. However, 2 months had passed, and they were nowhere to be found. Duan Lingtian could not help but speculate. "Brother Tian, since we can't find them in the lower province, why don't we return to the upper province to look for them?" Kerr suggested when she heard Duan Lingtian's speculation. "All right." Duan Lingtian nodded. Then he said gently to Kerr, "Kerr, thank you for your hard work. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to search the entire lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land in just 2 months. If it were not for the help of Kerr's powerful divine consciousness, he would not have been able to search the entire Debussy subterranean so quickly. Brother Tian, there's no need to say such things between us." Kerr shook her head gently. Her eyes were filled with infatuation as she looked at Duan Lingtian. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to return to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land with Kerr, a voice suddenly rang out. Duan Lingtian was stunned when he heard a voice that seemed to come from all directions. Kerr's expression changed drastically, and a hint of panic could be seen in her eyes. "Cousin," this was the voice of a man who was full of vigor, and his voice was mixed with anger. Duan Lingtian was stunned when he heard the voice. At this moment, he felt an extremely powerful force pressing down on him without any warning. It felt as though a heavy hammer had hit his chest, causing his internal organs to tremble. Barf. Chapter 2497. As soon as Duan Lingtian was injured and coughed up a mouthful of blood, a voice rang out. "Yunqing Yan, stop." The gentleness on Kerr's face was gone, replaced by anger. As soon as she looked away from Duan Lingtian, the gentleness in her eyes disappeared and was replaced by a cold glint. Kerr, Duan Lingtian didn't even have time to react to the owner of the voice, nor did he have time to react to the identity of the person who had injured him. He didn't even have time to think about why the person possessed such terrifying strength when he heard Kerr's extremely cold voice that sent chills down one's spine. This was his first time seeing Kerr so angry. Of course, he also knew that the reason why Kerr was so angry was entirely because of him. He could not help but feel warmth in his heart. The owner of the voice seemed to have called me cousin earlier. Could it be? Could it be? Duan Lingtian, who felt warmth in his heart due to Kerr's anger, suddenly recalled something. His expression changed drastically, and his eyes widened in shock. All this while, Duan Lingtian had been avoiding one thing in the depths of his heart. And that matter was related to the fact that Kerr was the reincarnation of the goddess. According to Tang Xian, the former sect leader of the Zoroastrianism, not only was Kerr the reincarnation of a goddess, but she also had a cousin who harbored ill intentions toward her. Moreover, Kerr's cousin in her past life was most likely a powerhouse from the Devata realms. Although Duan Lingtian possessed extraordinary strength, he knew very well that he was nothing compared to the Devata realms. He was nothing compared to the powerful celestials from the Devata realms. Any golden celestial or stronger from the Devata realms could easily kill him. Moreover, based on Tang Xian's description, Ker's cousin in her past life was not an ordinary celestial. Earlier, Ker seemed to have called out that person's name. It's very likely that person is him. When Duan Lingtian recalled Ker calling out a man's name earlier, he was even more certain of his guess. His expression turned even more unsightly. At the same time, he also realized, Ker must have recovered her memories of her cousin in her past life, but she did not tell him about it. Otherwise, how would Ker know the man's name? Duan Lingtian, naturally, knew Ker did not want him to worry. He was certain Ker did not want him to worry. It seems like you've recovered your memories, cousin. At the very least, you remember me. The voices that seemed to come from all directions were once again transmitted over. At the same time, it caused Ker's eyes to focus as she stared straight ahead. At this moment, a figure could be seen looming in front of her. In the end, the figure was revealed. It was a young man dressed in green robes. He was tall and handsome. His long, dark green hair was draped over his shoulders, but it was not tied up with a hairband. The corners of his mouth were clearly curved upwards, as if he was revealing an evil smile all the time. This evil smile, coupled with the handsome appearance of this green-clothed young man, was absolutely lethal to some young girls who were experiencing the first awakening of love. As soon as the green-clad young man appeared, he turned to look at Ker. Sush! Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically when he saw the green-clad young man looking at Ker. Following that, Duan Lingtian did not hesitate and stepped forward to protect Ker. His expression was gloomy as he stared coldly at the green-clad young man standing not far away. It was as though he was afraid the green-clad young man would hurt Ker. At this moment, Duan Lingtian instinctively wanted to protect his wife, Ker. However, he seemed to have completely forgotten. The green-clad young man in front of him was so strong that he was no match for him. Earlier, the green-clad young man had easily injured him without even showing himself. However, when Duan Lingtian appeared in front of Ker and protected Ker behind him, the green-clad young man's expression froze. Then, his expression turned gloomy. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "I haven't come looking for you, but you came looking for me first," the green-clad young man spoke calmly. His voice was so cold that it seemed to cause the temperature in the surrounding area to drop. It was as though winter had arrived. "You're courting death." All of a sudden, his eyes turned cold. The space around Duan Lingtian instantly collapsed like glass. Duan Lingtian, who was in the middle of it, was on the verge of collapsing as though he would collapse at any moment. As soon as the green-clad young man finished speaking, Duan Lingtian discovered a wave of energy that seemed to have appeared out of thin air in his surroundings. Not only did it lock him in place, but it also completely suppressed the energy in his body with just its aura alone. A strong sense of danger rose in Duan Lingtian's heart. Once it appeared, it could not be suppressed. It was out of control. Elementary devouring skill. Sword formation. 13 green lotus swords. The moment he felt the sense of danger, Duan Lingtian did not dare to hesitate. He hurriedly used all kinds of methods in an attempt to break free and regain his freedom. How's this possible? However, just as Duan Lingtian was about to cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring skill, to devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surrounding area, he was shocked to discover that the whirlpool in the vortex had formed. The elementary devouring technique had turned into a vortex that overlapped with his body. The devouring power that extended from the vortex was actually blocked by the power that had appeared around him out of thin air and suppressed the power in his body with just its aura. Since the elementary devouring skill could not be used, it meant it could not devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surrounding area. How's he so strong? At the same time, Duan Lingtian also discovered he could not cast any other methods when his strength was suppressed. At this moment, he could clearly smell the scent of death. This was especially true when the green-clad young man said, "You're seeking death." As soon as the green-clad young man's words left his mouth, Duan Lingtian felt a burst of destructive aura around him. It was as though a destructive force was about to charge at him and kill him. Ker's cold voice rang in the air again. Yun Qing Yen. If you kill my brother Tian, I won't live as well. Ker's words were resolute, leaving no room for negotiation. You should know that if I want to die, you won't be able to stop me. Ker's voice was cold as she threatened the green-clad young man. Ker. When Duan Ling Tian heard Ker's words to the green-clad young man, his eyes widened, and his expression changed drastically. At the same time, he felt for the first time how useless he was. He had the strength that could be considered top-notch in the mundane realms, but he was powerless in front of this green-clad young man. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian did not feel happy at all, even though the green-clad young man's energy had suddenly paused around him and did not continue to charge toward him to kill him. The green-clad young man, Yun Qing Yen, Ker's cousin in her past life, had a grave expression on his face at this moment. His expression was hideous and ferocious. Cousin, you're willing to give up your life for a mortal ant like him? At this moment, Yun Qing Yen no longer bothered to look at Duan Ling Tian. His eyes were filled with jealousy and hatred as he looked at Ke. Behind the jealousy in the depths of his eyes, waves of terrifying killing intent rose one step further. Naturally, the killing intent was not directed at Ke. It was directed at Duan Ling Tian. He's not a mortal ant. He's my husband, Ke said coldly when she heard Yun Qing Yan's words. Your husband? Upon hearing Ke's words, Yun Qing Yan's eyes narrowed in anger. His expression turned even more unsightly. His robe fluttered in the absence of wind, emitting waves of murderous intent that sent chills down one's spine. Cousin, don't forget that there's an engagement between us. And he's just a husband you found before you recovered your memories of your previous life. Yun Qing Yen looked at Ke grimly and said, as long as he dies today, I'll let bygones be bygones. After all, there's no need for me to be so calculative with a dead man. He did not expect this would happen. He had plotted for so many years, but he did not expect this to happen. Engagement? Ke sneered. Yun Qing Yen, if I'm not mistaken, from the moment I died in my past life, the engagement between us is no longer valid. In this life of mine, other than being related to you by blood, I have nothing else to do with you. Cousin, do you hate me so much that you're unwilling to be with me? Yun Qing Yen asked in a deep voice. In my past life, I've told you that I only treated you as an elder brother. However, you were so overbearing that you didn't hesitate to destroy our relationship as siblings. You forced me to cancel the engagement at the cost of my life. After I reincarnated, you even arranged for me to stay in this mundane realm. You even arranged for someone to keep an eye on me. Unfortunately, I'm afraid you didn't expect that after all your painstaking arrangements, you still won't be able to have me. After listening to Ke's words, Duan Ling Tian began to realize something. Ke's death in her past life was closely related to the green-clad young man, Yun Qing Yen. She had even died because she wanted to ruin their engagement. After Ke reincarnated, Yun Qing Yen arranged for Ke to stay in this mundane realm and arranged for someone to keep an eye on her. Chapter 2498. Upon hearing Ke's words, Yun Qing Yan's expression darkened immediately. Back then, he had gone to great lengths to arrange for the reincarnation of the woman before him to be reborn in this remote mundane realm. His intention was to prevent her from interacting with her family for the time being so that he would have more opportunities to interact with her. Before she regained her memories, he wanted to develop a relationship with her, win her heart, and conquer her. However, he did not expect this. When he returned, not only did his cousin's reincarnation have a man, but she had even given birth to a child with him. Damn it. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have left back then. Back then, Yun Qing Yen had left the mundane realm after arranging for his cousin's reincarnation because he had some matters to attend to. He had been gone for many years. Naturally, Yun Qing Yen did not think he had been gone for long. Moreover, he had arranged for someone to keep an eye on the mundane realm, so he was not worried. However, when he returned, not only were the people he had arranged for killed, but his cousin's reincarnation had also fallen in love with someone before he returned. He could not accept this. Cousin, you should know that. Uncle and aunt would never allow you to marry such a lowly mortal ant. Even if they're here today, they'll still kill him if they find out he has defiled you. Yun Qin Yen said in a deep voice. This is the Xia clan's business. It has nothing to do with you. Kerr said coldly. Cousin, don't forget that my mother, your aunt, is also a member of the Xia clan. As her son, I'm considered half a member of the Xia clan. Therefore, I'm responsible for the Xia clan's business. After Yun Qin Yen finished speaking, he looked at Duan Lingtian with killing intent surging in his eyes. He could not wait to tear Duan Lingtian into pieces. That's easy for you to say. Kerr sneered. Do you dare say you have no ulterior motives for doing this? Yun Qin Yen, I advise you to give up and stop wasting your time on me. Whether it's my past life or my current life, I'm not interested in you at all. I'll never become your cultivation partner. The marriage contract between you and me in my previous life has also disappeared along with the death of my previous life. Kerr's words were resolute and decisive. Yun Qin Yan's expression darkened immediately. Putting aside the fact that we're engaged, you must return with me today. Both uncle and aunt have asked me many times about your reincarnation. It can be seen that they are very concerned about you. Ridiculous. Kerr could not help but laugh when she heard Yun Qin Yan's words. If you cared about my parents, you wouldn't have placed me in this secluded mundane realm. If I'm not mistaken, you didn't tell them that I was reincarnated in this mundane realm, right? Yun Qin Yan's eyes widened when he heard Yun Qin Yan's words. When she reached the end of her sentence, her gaze turned sharp as she looked at Yun Qin Yan. It was as though she could see through everything. Kerr sneered when she saw Yun Qin Yan's expression darkening. It seems like I'm right. So what if you're right? Yun Qin Yan's brows relaxed. The gloomy expression on his face disappeared in an instant. He said nonchalantly, No matter what, you must come back with me today. She's my wife. Who do you think you are? Who are you to ask her to return with you? Duan Lingtian, who had remained silent all this while, could not help but feel anxious when he heard Yun Qin Yan's words. His expression turned even more unsightly. Previously, when they were in the Dwusiai subterranean, he could only watch helplessly as Gan Ru Yen took Kerr away. However, it seemed like the same thing was happening again today. This time, no matter what, he would not allow Ku Er to be taken away without doing anything. He had promised Kerr that he would not let her go. As long as he still had a breath left in him, he would not be separated from her. Who do I think I am? Yun Qin Yan's expression did not change when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. However, when he looked at Duan Lingtian, his eyes were filled with disdain. A contemptuous smile appeared on his face. To you, I'm invincible. In fact, I don't even need to lift a finger. With a single thought, I can make you wish you were dead, or even turn you into ashes. Yun Qin Yan's eyes turned cold when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. In the next moment, boom, 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 boom. A series of explosions rang in the air as the space around Duan Lingtian that had returned to normal began to shatter again. Bang, 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 bang. Following that, a powerful force slammed into Duan Lingtian's body, shattering the force that he had gathered through his 99 saint veins. The force that appeared out of thin air when the void shattered was extremely powerful. However, when it landed on Duan Lingtian, it was just right. Apart from not attacking his vital points, it covered almost every part of his body. Barf, barf. Duan Lingtian could not mobilize his own energy at all in the face of the energy that swept toward him. He could not cast any technique at all. It was as though he had transformed into a puppet as he allowed the waves of hostile energy to land on his body. Mouthfuls of blood gushed out of Duan Lingtian's mouth as though they were free. With every mouthful of blood he spat out, Duan Lingtian's aura weakened a little. In the end, Duan Lingtian was on the verge of death. He did not even have the ability to fly. He fell from the sky and landed heavily on the top of a mountain. His aura weakened even further. Upon seeing this, Kerr's eyes widened in anger. Her body trembled violently, and her beautiful face was filled with coldness. When she looked at Duan Lingtian, her eyes were filled with pain. However, when she looked at Yun Qin Yen, Her eyes were filled with killing intent. It was as though she wanted to tear Yun Qing Yen into pieces. From the beginning until the end, Kerr did not move at all. When Yun Qing Yen attacked Duan Lingtian, he had also attacked Kerr. Naturally, he did not attack Kerr. He merely restrained Kerr so she would not be able to save Duan Lingtian. Whether it was Duan Lingtian or Kerr, from the beginning until the end, Yun Qing Yen did not move at all. Not only did he injure Duan Lingtian, but he even restrained Kerr, whose strength was comparable to a golden celestial in the Devata realms. Based on this, one could see how strong Yun Qing Yen was. However, Yun Qing Yen ignored Kerr's heart-wrenching cry as he descended from the sky. In just a blink of an eye, he arrived at the peak of the mountain where Duan Lingtian was. He landed next to the heavily injured Duan Lingtian. "What did you say earlier? Who do you think I am? What right do I have to take your wife away?" Yun Qing Yen squatted down and looked at Duan Lingtian, who was glaring at him mockingly. He smiled faintly and said, "Do you still think so? A piece of trash like you doesn't deserve to be so arrogant in front of me. I think you're tired of living." Yun Qing Yan's voice turned colder and colder as he spoke. Even if Duan Lingtian was heavily injured and could not move his body in the slightest, Duan Lingtian did not make a sound. Upon hearing Yun Qing Yan's words, Duan Lingtian gritted his teeth and said in a hoarse voice, "Yun Qing Yan, kill me now if you dare. Otherwise, I'll make sure you regret it in the future." As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Yun Qing Yen raised his hand and slapped him. Then, he said disdainfully, "A piece of trash like you dares to say that if I don't kill you today, I'll make sure you regret it in the future? However, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Yun Qing Yen sneered as he made up his mind to end Duan Lingtian's life. If it were not for his cousin's reincarnation, he would have killed the purple-clad young man before him. Not only did a mere mortal from the mundane realm defile his cousin's reincarnation, but he even had a child with her. He could not tolerate this. If he could, he would tear Duan Lingtian into pieces. Yun Qing Yen. Just as Yun Qing Yen was about to kill Duan Lingtian, Kerr's cold voice rang in his ears. "If you dare to kill Brother Tian, I'll kill myself and follow him." Swoosh. Upon hearing Kerr's words, Yun Qing Yan's expression turned unsightly. He looked at Kerr and said in a deep voice, "Cousin, you're a noble and yet, you're willing to kill yourself for a mere mortal? Is he even worthy?" Yun Qing Yan's emotions began to fluctuate as he spoke. His cousin was a cold beauty in her previous life. No matter what he did, she would keep him at arm's length. Even if they were engaged, she would rather die than marry him. However, it was this cousin of his who was willing to give up her life for a man after reincarnating. At this moment, his heart was filled with jealousy. But what right did he have to give up her life for another man when the woman he couldn't get no matter how hard he tried? If that man was stronger than him in all aspects, he would have accepted it. However, the problem was that this man was not weak at all. However, the man in front of him was just a mortal ant from a mundane plane. He could easily kill him without even lifting a finger. He's the man I, Xia Ningshui, have chosen. No matter how many lifetimes it takes, I, Xia Ningshui, will live and die with him. If he lives, I live. If he dies, I die. Chapter 2499. If he lives, I live. If he dies, I die. Kerr's tone was firm and unwavering. Yun Qing Yan's expression changed drastically when he heard her words. "Cousin sister," Yun Qing Yan stared at Kerr. He was so angry that he could not even speak properly. "Brother Tian." Kerr turned to look at Duan Lingtian. A hint of heartache flashed in her eyes as she said gently, "Kerr has said that she doesn't want to be separated from you again. Even if she dies, Kerr is willing to die with you." Cough. Duan Lingtian was slightly agitated when he coughed out another mouthful of blood. His face turned even paler, and there was no trace of blood at all. "I've also promised you that unless I die, I won't let what happened that year happen again. Unless I die, no one will be able to take you away from me," Duan Lingtian said in a hoarse voice. His voice was filled with urgency when he spoke. If you die, Kerr won't live either. Kerr's eyes were filled with determination. She was not afraid of dying. Good. Very good. What a touching scene. Yun Qingyan's expression darkened when he saw how affectionate his cousin was with this ant from the mundane realm whom he looked down on. He was so infuriated that he began to laugh. However, do you think I'd appear before you if I wasn't prepared? Yun Qingyan's tone suddenly changed. His tone was cold, but at the same time, it seemed to exude a strong sense of confidence. Duan Lingtian only frowned slightly when he heard Yun Qingyan's words. However, Kerr's expression changed drastically. This was because she was very clear about her cousin's character. He was definitely the kind of person who would stop at nothing to achieve his goal. For a moment, an ominous premonition arose in her heart. Duan Lingtian, take a good look. For they. Yun Qingyan glanced at Duan Lingtian coldly before he raised his hand and swiped at the air in front of him. Immediately, the void trembled and wavered. Bush. After the void vibrated for a while, a constantly changing image appeared in front of Yun Qingyan, Duan Lingtian, and Kerr. Shua. The moment Duan Lingtian and Kerr saw the mirror image, their expressions changed. Despicable. Kerr glared at Yun Qingyan. Yun Qingyan, you're not only embarrassing yourself by doing this, but you're also embarrassing the entire Yun family. Yun Qingyan ignored Kerr. He lowered his head and looked at Duan Lingtian who was lying at his feet. He smiled faintly and said, "What do you think? Do you like the big gift I gave you?" "Father, Mother, little Fei, Nian Tian." However, Duan Lingtian did not seem to hear Yun Qingyan's words. His attention was completely focused on the mirror image in front of him. Apart from his parents, his wife, Li Fei, and his son, Duan Yen Tian, were also in the mirror image. Apart from that, his senior brother, Bai Li Hong, his father-in-law, Feng Wu Dao, and other close friends were also in the mirror image. Currently, the mirror image that appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes was an ice-cold prison. His parents, his wife, and his son were all locked up in small rooms in this prison. Moreover, they all had desolate expressions on their faces as if they had lost their souls. No matter how much Duan Lingtian shouted, his family and friends in the mirror image did not respond at all. Senior Uncle Prophet? Tian Wu. Si Ling. Soon after, the mirror image changed again. Another group of people who were locked in small rooms appeared in front of Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically again. This was because the people locked in this prison were the members of the Seven Absolutes sect and his family who were supposed to be in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. In other words, Duan Lingtian was in a hurry. Apart from Zhang Yi who came from Yanhuang realm, all his family and friends who were staying in the Seven Absolutes sect's temporary estate in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land were locked up in the cold prison in front of him. Si Ling. Kerr's expression turned even more unsightly when she saw her daughter, Duan Si Ling, had been locked up as well. Yun Qingyan, if you dare to touch my daughter, I'll definitely kill you. The killing intent in Kerr's eyes intensified when she looked at Yun Qingyan again. It was as though she could not wait to tear him into pieces. Yun Qingyan's expression darkened when he heard Kerr's words. However, he ignored Kerr. His gaze descended onto Duan Lingtian who was heavily injured and sprawled by his feet, and he said indifferently, "Duan Lingtian, do you know where they are? I'm afraid you won't believe me, but they're in my hands." As soon as Yun Qingyan finished speaking, he raised his hand. Duan Lingtian looked at Yun Qingyan's hand with a cold glint in his eyes. At this moment, something appeared in Yun Qingyan's hand. Duan Lingtian's eyes widened when he saw the item. This was because the thing in Yun Qingyan's hand looked exactly the same as the prison that imprisoned his family and friends in the mirror image. The prison in Yun Qingyan's hand was a pocket-sized prison. This is a top celestial weapon I obtained many years ago when I was traveling in the Devata realms. This celestial weapon is a spatial celestial weapon. It can contain all kinds of living beings. I created it on a whim, but I didn't expect it to come in handy. Yun Qingyan waved the celestial weapon in his hand as though he was talking about something insignificant. My family, my friends, Are all locked up in there by you? Duan Lingtian asked in a hoarse voice as he stared at Yun Qing Yen coldly. That's right. Yun Qing Yen said indifferently, I've locked them up in this spatial celestial weapon. If I want to, I can annihilate them with just a thought. Sush. Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically. Despicable. Duan Lingtian did not expect Yun Qing Yen to be so powerful. He was certain Yun Qing Yen was a powerhouse from a Devata realm. Moreover, he was certain Yun Qing Yen was as strong as a great overarching golden celestial. However, such a person had not hesitated to lock up his family and friends and threaten him in order to deal with him, a person from the mundane realms. Yun Qing Yen. At this moment, Ku glared at Yun Qing Yen and said coldly, as the saying goes, don't you think you've crossed the line by acting like this? Cousin. Yun Qing Yen finally paid attention to Kerr. He looked at Kerr and said with a smile, I don't think I've crossed the line. Didn't you say you didn't want to leave with me? Didn't you say you wanted to die with him? I won't let you die. If he dies, you'll end your own life as well. For this reason, I don't dare to kill him. And if he doesn't die, you won't leave with me obediently. Since that's the case, I'll let him live, as you wish. Yun Qing Yan's smile widened as he looked at the spatial celestial weapon in his hand. However, I plan to take everyone in this spatial celestial weapon with me. I can't guarantee what will happen to them after I take them away. After all, I won't have you by my side to remind me not to hurt them. When he reached the end of his sentence, he looked at Kuker meaningfully and said, Don't worry, Ku. Sush. No matter if it was Duan Lingtian or Ku, their expressions changed once again. It was extremely unsightly. Yun Qing Yen, you're a celestial from a Devata realm. If you want to kill me, come at me. You're so despicable. In order to deal with mortal ants from the mundane plane, you didn't hesitate to use his family to threaten him. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens? Duan Lingtian said in a hoarse voice. Punished by the heavens? Yun Qing Yen was taken aback when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then he burst out laughing. Duan Lingtian. Today, I'll show you that I, Yun Qing Yen, am the heavens in front of ants like you. If the heavens want all of you dead, none of you will be able to escape. Almost as soon as Yun Qing Yen finished speaking, a person who was also locked in a small cell in the mirror exploded into a cloud of blood without any warning. The small room was instantly dyed red with blood. Gold Thug. Upon seeing this, Duan Lingtian's eyes widened, and his expression changed drastically. The person who was killed by Yun Qing Yen with just a thought was his servant, the Golden Hellhound, Gold Thug. Later on, he had sent Gold Thug to the Azure Cloud Mansion to serve his father, Duan Ruffing, the mansion master of Azure Cloud Mansion. Although Duan Lingtian had not met Gold Thug for a long time, he had always treated Gold Thug as one of his own due to Gold Thug's loyalty to him. Now that Gold Thug had died in front of him, he was infuriated. His gaze was so cold that it seemed as though it could freeze everything. In the next moment, the mirror image changed again. I've said that I'm the heavens in front of ants like you. Duan Lingtian's expression changed again when he heard Yun Qing Yan's voice. This was because the body of another person who was locked in a small cell exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist, staining the ground with his blood. Xiong Quan. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.